trying to get her back, and saying that her mind was captured by others. Also, not a great strategy for reconciliation. In terms of the schools, look, I've got a little bit different opinion here than either side, right? So I think that there's bubbles in the world, and that a lot of us live in bubbles, and the thickest bubble is the one you're in because it's the hardest one to see. And so he's in his own bubble, and he's entered this weird right wing bubble, and he thinks that, well, anyone who doesn't think that we should have out of control, unregulated capitalism, which in essence is corporatism, if you ask me, is a Marxist and a communist. And he thinks that's normal. Why would she just act normal and just love unregulated, massive income inequality, right? And then I don't know what she thinks because we have no idea. She hasn't said anything publicly. But I do know generally, is it true that some of the private schools in LA are more progressive? Yeah, it is true. Okay. And so, is there a certain culture there? Yeah, there probably is. So what's the correct way to go about that? Is it to say your culture is wrong? Okay, my culture is correct. No, and by the way, also true if I'm not commenting on Jenna at all because we don't know a single thing about her. But let's say that you're a kid in a similar situation and you don't like the way that your parents think about the world. So try to engage both sides. Try to engage and understand that you.
Okay, we're starting the anesthesia. You might start to feel drowsy. Okay. Oh, yeah. A little, oh boy. And a little loopy. Oh yeah, I'm feeling real Fruit Loopy. All right, we're gonna take you into the OR now, okay? Okay. Hey, you wanna know something crazy? If I was in Texas or Alabama or something, I don't think I'd be able to do this. What? Oh, honey, of course you could.
2 weeks later.
Hello, my name is Alyssa, and in January 2022, I could tell something was very, very wrong with my body. Which, to be fair, is a common occurrence for me. I battled eczema as soon as I popped out of the womb. I then survived pneumonia before I could even spell pneumonia. I was later diagnosed with asthma and went to asthma camp. I've struggled with my mental health and only recently found out I was on the spectrum. And you do not want to be around me after I've eaten cheese. Cheap bathroom humor aside, in 2022, my restroom was no longer a place of rest. Because I had just gotten my period, but it was nothing like it had ever been in my 25 years of owning a uterus. This period was extremely heavy, and I grew up with heavy periods, but this varmint was not privy to being tamed. Mother Nature managed to soak through regular-sized pads in 2 hours or less. A new personal record! Good for you! Why are you doing that? Oh, God! And the pain. God. Again, I know period cramps all too well, but this pain was worse than cramps. It was unending, uninterrupted, and unyielding to Advil. It left me bedridden. And anytime I did get up to, eat, pee, or clean up the Kool-Aid again, I would get lightheaded and dizzy from the blood loss. I also unintentionally lost 10% of my body weight. But thankfully, after a week on Mother Nature's wild ride, it stopped. Well, kind of. The
you dropping me here and then not
was
coming
only
down
a
to me?
temporary thing, but the period stayed. I mean, it did go from calm to more of a lazy river, I guess. But even if this was just a new thing Mother Nature wanted to test run, a period is supposed to end after about a week. So frankly, I was surprised I still had any blood left in me. My mom's a labor and delivery nurse, the one who catches babies when they're born. So whenever weird things happen with my uterus, I consult her. But she was stumped, so she recommended I just go to my local Planned Parenthood, which, by the way, I've been to before, for general checkups because my primary doctor didn't have any appointments. But this was the first time I'd be going for uterus-related reasons, and I was nervous. But the people who work at Planned Parenthood have always been the sweetest, most understanding group of nurses, doctors, and healthcare professionals I've ever met. So, in case you've never been, here's how that goes. First, I went online to locate my nearest Planned Parenthood. Then I called the number. But before I could even talk to someone about my symptoms or set up an appointment, the person over the phone had a whole rigmarole to ensure I was in a safe household, had safe partners and people around me, and to understand they would only call me from a private number that couldn't be traced, just in case I was in an unsafe situation and couldn't be truthful during this phone call. And for some phone calls, we even set a temporary password to say out loud in case anyone tried to pretend to be me to access my records without my consent. And I'll admit, when this was explained to me, I was confused. It seemed like a lot just for a little checkup, but then I thought about it. Planned Parenthood has got to be the most difficult thing to walk into, let alone my appointment, which thankfully I was able to get within the next day or so. The lady on the phone made sure to tell me this. Make sure you show up to the correct address and only talk to people with Planned Parenthood badges. Some people might try to approach you, yell at you, or convince you to go to another building. They don't work for us, but they may lie and pretend they do to keep you from going to your appointment. And silly old me thought, but I'm in California. The most hippy-dippy, do-whatever-you-want kind of place, right? Surely there won't be. There was a huge crowd of people. If I had to guess, there were about 20 people standing right at the entrance, lines, chanting, and cars driving by were honking and giving thumbs up to them. And I had to drive right next to them. I saw my face, I saw all of theirs, and the way they looked at me was, I don't know, like pity, almost. They were laser focused on me, but not in a concerned way. It was more like a face that says, "What are you doing here?" Which probably sounds weird, but that's the best way I could describe it. I did my best to avoid eye contact and confrontation until I made it inside. And to my surprise, the people outside were so loud that I could hear them chanting and yelling from inside the waiting room. And it felt awful. They had no idea what was going on inside me. Heck, I didn't even know what was going on inside me. That's why I came here. But here they were, pretending to know why I was here, pretending to care about my body, and doing so by raising such a ruckus about it that I didn't feel safe simply going to a doctor's appointment to find out whether or not I'm dying. And on top of that, accusing me and my doctors of murder. And the most fucked up part of me believed them. Even though I knew what they were chanting couldn't be further from the truth. Once the nurse called me back, we did all the normal doctor stuff. She took my weight, she checked my blood pressure, listened to my lungs, all that. Then she led me to a, regular doctor office patient room and told me to wait there for the doctor to come in, just like a normal checkup, except with people chanting and yelling horrible things outside. When the doctor came in, I told her what was going on and how I had never experienced anything like this before. Are you on birth control? Have you had any new partners? Do you use protection? Have you been under any stress lately? The doctor was very limited in what she was allowed to do since she worked at Planned Parenthood. She advised me to see my OBGYN, which is a special kind of doctor that's most known for managing pregnancy and all things related to that, and requests I have an ultrasound done to see what was going on inside my uterus. So I did. I left the building, walked past the scary people outside, drove home, and called my OBGYN. Unfortunately, they're a very busy place, so I wasn't able to get an appointment until March, which didn't work with my schedule, so I got an appointment in April. So to recap, it's April, my uterus has been lazy rivering with week-long spurts of Splash Mountain for 4 months straight. I was slowly losing blood, energy, and my will to live, but at this point, I was just used to it. I just planned my life around it, because what other choice did I have? And that's when my doctor discovered something in my uterus. It was only 1 centimeter big, so maybe the size of an M&M, but it was attached to the inside wall of my uterus, and it was growing, or trying to, at least, because although it had begun to grow there, my uterus wasn't capable of sustaining it. And so, as my doctor theorized, Mother Nature was trying her darndest to wash it down the drain, so to speak. But it was still hanging on despite her efforts. That's why I was bleeding so much. That's why I was so tired. There was something growing inside of me. My body couldn't take it, and it was doing its best to get rid of it per usual natural processes, but it just wasn't strong enough. At least, not without medical intervention. But my doctor said that was up to me. And I was terrified when she explained this to me. This had never happened to me before, and I did everything right. I was always careful. I'd been on birth control since the age of 15, nearly 10 years at this point. So how could this happen? And what was I supposed to do now? I was scared of letting my body attempt to pass it on its own, considering that was clearly not working, and I was scared of it growing and potentially killing me, but I was also terrified of getting it removed, and the potential for that kind of surgery to come up in conversation one day. My doctor did her best to calm me down and explain neutrally, this is just what happens sometimes when you're young. Your uterus is full of hormones, and you can be as safe and as careful and as healthy as you can, but things happen. Things outside of our control. Things just grow there sometimes. But she assured me for every next step that I was in control. Choice A was to leave it, come back in a month and get another ultrasound to see if it's gotten any bigger, or if Mother Nature miraculously managed to shoot it out into the splash zone. Or choice B, they schedule a dilation and curettage, also known as a D&C, also known as an abortion. But it was my choice to make. She revealed to me this happened to her too when she was my age, but she chose to not get surgery. She said her body was able to pass it eventually, and nothing bad happened, although it was very bloody, very painful, and very scary at the time. She knew I was a young woman, a working woman, that I had a lot on my plate already, and I didn't have a partner at the time to go to these appointments with me and hold my hand when I was scared. But again, she assured me it was my choice to make, and she would honor it, no matter what. So I decided to go for the D&C, but I had to wait another 2 months. The soonest they could get me in was June 9th to be exact, which, fun fact, was about 2 weeks before I went to VidCon. And double fun fact, this was the same time frame that the Supreme Court was reconsidering the 1973 landmark ruling of Roe v. Wade that concluded the right to access abortion. So I gained another fear that this procedure would not happen, that my doctors would be arrested, and that I would die. Gotta laugh through the pain, man. A week before my doctors went in, another ultrasound revealed the regular M&M had now grown to a Peanuts M&M, and a second, regular-sized M&M had cropped up in my cervix. Terrifying! Thankfully, I was able to have my surgery on the 9th. I got the 2 growths removed, and a couple weeks later, the lab confirmed the mysterious, fast-growing lumps inside my uterus were benign, meaning I did not have uterine or cervical cancer. Wait a minute. You said you had an abortion. Mm-hmm. But you didn't. Well, technically, according to the law, I did. Since the Supreme Court eliminated the federal right to an abortion and has now left it up to each individual state to decide, the procedure performed on my body, a procedure that removes unwanted tissue from inside the uterus, in some states, by law, is now considered an abortion. No, it wasn't. You didn't have a baby in you. You weren't pregnant. I know. I know that. You know that. And my doctors know that. But lawmakers don't. They're not me. They're not you. And they're not doctors. Most of them don't even have a uterus, let alone fidelity in their marriages. And yet, they get to define what an abortion is. And according to their broad, vague, and flimsy definitions, I had an abortion. God forbid you miscarry and the unviable fetus is killing you from the inside out, you would also need a D&C. But the law would say, ooh, sorry, that's an abortion, and we can't allow that. Isn't that messed up? So let me reiterate this in the simplest of terms. It didn't matter that the clump of cells inside me had toenails or cancer. Because as of June 24th, 2022, a doctor who performs a surgery to empty a uterus for any reason, and anyone who receives that surgery, no matter what's going on, are at risk of being arrested, fined, and or sent to prison, according to their state laws. In some states, they're even considering the death penalty. And in even more states, doctors are leaving, hospitals are understaffed, and people are dying. If I didn't have that procedure, I'd still be crying in bed from not just the pain and the blood and the exhaustion from my maybe cancerous tumors as they grew bigger and bigger. I'd also be crying because I'd have no choice but to die a slow and painful death. Did you hear me? I would have no choice. So if you felt betrayed that I would dare to call this procedure by the same watered-down language as our own laws, but then breathed a sigh of relief once you found out it was just a tumor and not an embryo, you need to confront the fact that you don't value my life. You don't value the living. You only value an organ and its ability to produce children, not the actual living, breathing person who, for some reason, has to beg for the right to their life, their liberty, and their happiness. That's what this is all about. That's what this has always been about. It's not an opinion. It's my life. It's my choice. Thank you for watching my video, and as always, stay safe.
Joey from DK Oldies is a man. He's a man. He's a man. He's a man. He's a man. Skip it up. So as of a couple days ago, DK Oldies is back in the news because they want to be, because they like, oh, we
let's go. Don't wait. I'm just covering you while you move.
Before the controversy. Did you really?
I don't know. Your mic sucks. I can't even hear a word you're saying.
From Bar or me that was not the case. But needless to say, all of a sudden they were pushing their refurbishing process. They brought up the controversy, even though, to be quite frank with you, DK Oldies, no one's really talked about you over the past few months. I have a surprise video that'll eventually come out regarding products that I bought from you. But who's mentioned DK Oldies until very recently? It's almost like you wanted us to mention you again, because it was, even though it was bad publicity and it put a lot of pressure on you, which seemed to have worked, it was still publicity. And I'm sure you were still making sales in the process. Well, DK Oldies, I guess they must have hired Quantum TV to be their manager there, because they're pulling the play out of his book, where, well, I'm just going to read you what DK Oldies wrote on their YouTube page. We wanted to have a heart-to-heart about something important. Content creators, competitors, and YouTubers using our logo and our employees' images in a negative, unethical, or unhanded way without our consent just isn't right. And here's why. It's all about treating each other with respect. We believe in honesty and ethical behavior, and misusing logos and images to spread negativity and harm our reputation just doesn't match up with those values. Okay, if I'm lying about something, if I made up something and just didn't review your products and went out of my way to disparage you, bring me to court. Bring me to court. There you go. We can settle it out that way. I'll see you there. Plus, it can harm our reputation and relationships with all of you. Yeah, because if people know that you're selling crap, they don't want to buy your products. What did you think that we did? Did you think that we were like, hey, let me just take a dump on the motherboard of the Super Nintendo before I open it up? Shh, don't tell anybody. That's not Joey's turn, it's mine. Which is something we truly care about, yes, because he would like to make money. While we absolutely welcome constructive criticism, which criticism from any of us hasn't been constructive, we kindly ask that you keep it fair and respectful. Professionalism and respect are key, just like it was professional that you were saying you were refurbishing consoles, not refurbishing them, and using the, oh look, we have a tamper sticker on here, so if you take the tamper sticker off, which Jacob R. proved with receipts, you were using that as a reason not to open the console. So if you saw that sticker was off and someone tried to send it back to you, you said to him in a DM, well, usually if the sticker is off, it voids the warranty, which you can't even do that in the States anymore. And secondly, that was the way you hid the fact that you didn't actually refurbish the console. That's not unethical. That's not. But us calling you out for being unethical is unethical? Oh, get lost, dude. Get lost. While we absolutely welcome constructive criticism, we kindly ask that you keep it fair and respectful. Professionalism and respect are key, and we kindly ask that you respect our brand and our team by not using our images in ways that could be hurtful to promote your videos. I have been doing this a very long time. When people say things like that, literally that's what happened with Griffin Gaming and Quantum. It's that, okay, what's a way that we could de-incentivize them talking about us? So they don't want to, so they can't make a thumbnail so people will know what they're talking about, and they'll just be like, screw it, we're not going to make a video. I know anything in the video that we can use as an excuse to copyright claim it or put a false strike on it, which YouTubers don't want to deal with, we'll do. I've been down this road, DK Oldies, many, many times. I'll go down it again, if you'd like. Every single time I've won, ask The Verge about it. It didn't end well for them. Professionalism and respect are key, and we kindly ask that you respect our brand and our team by not using our images in ways that could be hurtful to promote your videos. It's absolutely okay to have criticism, but using disparaging images of our intellectual property and our employees who just go to work to make a living to promote your videos, they're hiding behind, oh, look what you're doing to other people, you're hurting them. Again, I hate bringing up Quantum TV here, but when you criticize my family gets attacked, and then he had no evidence of it. It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. They want to try to stifle criticism instead of just addressing it. Let's keep it respectful and awesome together. They should have just wrote a sentence there. I could translate it for you. You talk about us, which gives you the legal right to use the logo so long as it's transformative in the thumbnail, and it is, or in the video, and it is. We're going to go after you. That's exactly what they're saying. I've been doing this for a very long time. I've seen this pattern a billion times before, and they just don't want us to talk about them. Now, what was interesting is that Jacob R., another YouTuber, actually replied to them, and this is what he had to say. You're right. It was wrong of me to use a stretched out image of Joey in the video I just posted. I blurred his face in my video using the YouTube editor. This will take a few hours for YouTube to process, and I removed his face from the thumbnail. Now, can you guys just admit you were selling consoles as refurbished without ever opening them, all while claiming otherwise? Jacob, I hope you're kidding. Why would you do that? You have every legal right. If it is the subject you're talking about, even if it isn't, if it's transformative, if you wanted to have Joey at the beach sipping a cocktail with the sun as the DK Oldies logo, you can do that. It's transformative. Like, there's no other way around it. They would lose in court. No, you do not have to do that. And they won't admit that they weren't actually refurbished. They'll just say that they're going to do better. And look, admittedly, with the last two consoles I got from them, they did do a better job. But this shows me that they don't want to take accountability. And
where are you guys?
Even though I don't want to give them more
fucking
money.
Worst team I've ever played with.
Which I'll find ways to get it that they won't know it's me. To buy something and see what condition their stuff is in.
and now with their broad scope of changes. And you know what that made me think of something, DKLDs? You pissed me off. When I got consoles from you that were in decent condition, because there was a couple that were, it was the N64 and Sega Genesis, I said they were in good condition. The Sega Genesis was mint. I don't, like, I'm not just going after you for the sake of going after you. But you don't want the criticism. You want to try to stifle it and make it like the product that you're selling is what's on the tin. And many, many, many content creators have proven you wrong, and you're going to do the same thing I've seen a bunch of other YouTubers do throughout the years to try to shut people up by like, oh, they're using my logo. I had to go strike their video where it was proving that I was a shady friggin' turd. It's not how it works, champs. And guess what? It's legal and transformative. When we talk about you, DKLDs, we are going to use your logo. And Joey is the spokesperson for your company. He's in every TikTok video and YouTube video. So we are allowed to use his face. He's a public figure. Cry about it. This is Richard Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one.
You blew it.
So I'm going to start this video with some brilliant news, because as you may be aware, throughout the last few weeks, I've been covering some TikTok drama, which is always called something gate. You know about Tattoo Gate, Pickle Gate, DIY Gate, the previous one was on Purse Gate. But there was actually a comment that was left on my Purse Gate video that I haven't been able to get out of my brain since, and it's this one that reads, has there ever been a Gate Gate? I want to see that. And ever since I've seen this comment, I've been praying every single day that we will finally get a Gate Gate to talk about on this channel, and I'm proud to announce we're getting closer. Because today, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about Fence Gate. It's pretty similar, right? I understand a lot of people might be disappointed, we all want to see Gate Gate, but we are getting closer. I will say right now, if anyone does own a gate at their home, or maybe they're just aware of a gate in the neighbourhood, if you do want to cause some drama, you know, maybe a few arguments around that item, please do. It can make a very good YouTube title. But yeah, this Fence Gate situation is actually quite sad. I feel very sorry for one of the women who was involved in this, but let's actually start at the beginning, because originally, no one was on this woman's side. So long story short, this TikTok user here, Tiffany, with 8,500 followers, who you can see kind of posts like outfit of the day type content, she actually posted a very different video about a week ago, which showed that a woman, who was actually her neighbour, was cutting down their fence, and she was getting very angry, and then the internet kind of took it to kind of call her a Karen and insult her. Now I can't show you the original video because it's now been deleted, but this video was actually uploaded by the Daily Mail, where they talk about this situation, and let me just say, they're very biased throughout.
The audacious act wasn't from a random vandal, but from their next-door neighbor, who has a reputation for causing chaos among the community.
Like, sorry, just the way they put like the music in the background and this like very intense voice, they're trying to make it seem as if she's like a real-life supervillain. What you see here isn't a random vandal. It's actually a neighbor from hell, a Karen, if you will. So if anyone is out there that can help us, please do. Before it's too late. Like, yeah, it is a bit over the top, isn't it? A bit too intense for my liking, especially when we actually find out the cause of why she's cutting down this fence.
Known locally as the neighborhood Karen, this woman not only orchestrated the destruction, but had her husband wield a chainsaw.
They're literally trying to make it seem as if she's like committing a massacre.
Known locally as the neighborhood Karen, this woman not only orchestrated the destruction, but had her husband wield a chainsaw.
They're literally trying to make it seem as if she's like committing a massacre or something. Like she decided she's a part of the purge all of a sudden.
As if the audacity wasn't enough, the couple nonchalantly tossed the planks of wood without any remorse.
They tossed the planks of wood without any remorse, as if they just like threw like a fucking newborn baby onto the floor. Hello, you okay? Who started you on then? But yeah, I'm very confused by this whole voiceover and why they made it so intense. It is just a woman throwing some wood on the floor. It's not like she's murdering anyone here. And by the way, this is by the Daily Mail, you know, an actual like newspaper that decided to do this. I don't get it.
I don't need a lawyer. You need a lawyer. You have to tell you the paper.
Okay, so we get the point, right? They're cutting down this fence. The person recording is obviously pissed off. That's a fence that they've built. They're annoyed that their neighbours are cutting down the fence, and they're obviously arguing back and forth with each other. And when this video came out, everybody was against Fence Lady, which is now being dubbed. So this is the woman who's like cutting down the fence. But everyone was against it. People were saying some of the most horrible stuff online about this woman. They just thought she was this like lunatic neighbour that wanted to destroy the neighbourhood. In fact, Tiffany ended up posting another video about Fence Lady where she claims that Fence Lady actually assaulted her sister. And here's a video following on from the clip you've just seen where Tiffany reiterates that this was assault and they're going to do something about it legally.
But the fact that she pushed my sister, that's an assault.
But obviously in this clip she's missing out the very key context that her sister stepped over to Fence Lady's property. She literally went over the fence onto their property, and that's when Fence Lady started pushing her back. Because she's on her property. Which, by the way, you're definitely allowed to do. You're allowed to defend your own property. But there's actually a TikTok of a lawyer who talks about this a lot better than I ever could.
If you don't take action against somebody actually encroaching upon your property, after a certain period of time, that becomes their property. I'm not kidding, it's a wild concept. But essentially, somebody squats on your property or they place themselves on your property and you don't do anything to remove them within a specific period of time, the state gives them the property.
Which, can I just say, obviously this is coming from someone who isn't a lawyer, doesn't really know much about laws in general, but I can definitely say that law sounds fucking stupid. Which is a real thing, hence why you can defend your own property, and also hence why you would want to remove the fence so badly if it's part of her property, because if the fence stays there, it could then become the neighbour's property, because Fence Lady hadn't done anything about it. But yeah, like I said, at this point in the situation, everyone, or most people, were against Fence Lady. They were leaving very horrible comments and they were on Tiffany's side. But that was until we actually got a statement from Fence Lady herself on her new TikTok account called Fence Lady 6. Which is a very creative name. I've got to say, I do love the fact that she saw loads of comments from people just calling her Fence Lady, and she was like, well, I guess that's what I am right now. But yeah, Fence Lady 6 actually goes on to tell a very different story to what Tiffany told, and we actually start to see the full picture. Sorry, I've got to say, you know how I was making jokes earlier in the video when we watched the Daily Mail video and they were trying to make it seem like she's a supervillain? If you do open up a video saying, hello everyone, I am the Fence Lady, kind of does make it seem like a supervillain, so maybe you're onto something.
这段视频就是我今天早上拍的，请大家看一下。
I mean, first things first, look at the gap between the fence and the house here. Like she just said right there, there's an AC unit here that she needed to fix or do some maintenance on, and obviously you physically can't work on it because there's just not enough room. And I believe this is actually when the fence has been pushed back a bit. It was even closer to the house originally, and this is just a more recent video where it has been pushed back slightly, and even then, the gap is ridiculously small. I mean, yeah, look, here was the fence beforehand, literally no pathway at all. So if you want to do any form of maintenance on the AC or whatever else down this side of the house, impossible. Physically impossible. I mean, realistically, the only way to do it would be if you went in their property, Tiffany's property, and got like a ladder and put it against your house and then maybe done that. But they clearly don't like each other. So that was never going to be a solution, was it?
They're dropping a replicator.
Yeah, so as you can see here, she's saying, according to the survey from the government, this fence is on my property. And she actually does show a property map in an upcoming video. From what I can tell, I'm no professional when it comes to property, but from what I can tell with the map, it seems like she is in the right here, like 100%. Now what's interesting is I believe Tiffany's family actually sold this woman, Fence Lady I guess, this house right here. So I believe they owned the property and sold it to this woman, which is interesting because, first of all, it makes me think that because they owned the property beforehand, they still think they have some form of ownership, and they feel like they have some like power advantage here and they can just do whatever they want because they sold her the house. But secondly, the reason why I find this interesting is because in some of Tiffany's videos, she starts saying stuff like, oh, why would you move into a property where the house is so close to the fence and all this stuff, kind of saying that it's Fence Lady's fault for picking this house when apparently her family sold her the property, so that doesn't really make sense to me.
我一直想着有好的那个通知交给他们，希望 能才去表达自己的意思，这样就可以修回来了。反正但是他们什么也没干，我也没干，还有问题也是好。
Yeah, so as she's explaining here, she's tried for so long to solve this issue. It wasn't just straight away she thought one day, you know what, I'm just going to cut the bastard down. She's tried solving this issue for a long time. She even shows a letter that she previously sent to this family to try and solve the issue, and it was just never solved, so she decided to take action into her own hands, right? And as we heard by the lawyer earlier, she has every right to do so. I mean, what? Yeah, so this is Tiffany's sister here, I believe, just spraying her with a hose, which is actually technically assault. I mean, even if you don't want to go into the technicalities, it's just a dodgy thing to do. Like, why are you spraying this poor woman with water while she's on her own property? It makes no sense. It makes you look like a bully, in fact. And yet again, here's that same lawyer talking about the fact that this is actually assault.
First of all, that's assault. You can't spray people with a hose.
And yeah, when you see a video like this, you do start to question, what other stuff has this poor woman had to put up with these neighbours who were getting all the praise originally, but their story is starting to kind of unravel and not make much sense. And then we get even more videos. Some that were even posted by Tiffany's own mother on Facebook, trying to get people onto her side, which definitely fucking backfired, where it becomes very clear what Fence Lady has had to put up with throughout the years. And it's not just being sprayed by a hose and a few arguments, it's also very racist remarks.
What do you think you are? What do you think you are? What the fuck do you What do you think you are? Learn to speak English and then come back to me. How about that?
Yeah, so if you didn't hear, she said, learn how to speak English, then come back to me. Just incredibly racist. And you've got to bear in mind here, this is a video that Tiffany's own mother recorded herself, said it in the video while she recorded, and then posted it to Facebook herself, thinking people would be on her side. So God knows what other stuff she said off camera if she thought this was okay. So yeah, you won't be surprised. At this point, obviously, most people are on Fence Lady's side, and they're going against Tiffany, and even like me messing with her. So, because she definitely twisted the story. This woman. Tiffany goes to social media to kind of like play the victim card, and she's saying, oh, this harassment's not there, even though she was fine with Fence Lady getting all this harassment before. I'm not going to read it all because it is an essay, but you can pause to read it if you want to, and it's basically Tiffany saying the comments she's been getting on her videos are unacceptable, people are being like horrible to her, saying the truth's going to come out, and all this stuff, the family are hurting and all this, and yet again, I would have a lot more sympathy if it wasn't for the fact that she first of all started this, posted the video herself and was completely fine with Fence Lady getting all the hate, but now that it's on her, she thinks it's horrible and people shouldn't be leaving nasty comments. And another very important detail to point out in this statement is throughout it, Tiffany actually says Fence Lady's full name when, by the way, she didn't need to do that. That's nothing to the statement. But she does include the full name multiple times, at least 3 or 4 times throughout this statement. And I can only think the reason why she's done this is because people were going at Tiffany and her family. Obviously her name's out there, it's in the articles because it's on her public TikTok account. And to get back at the Fence Lady, I don't want to say her full name for obvious reasons, but she has decided to leak her full name so people can maybe like dig into her and find out private information about her and whatnot. And it's just grim. I want to believe that there was no like malicious intent with this statement by putting a full name out, but when you read through it, she really did need to include her name so many times throughout the statement. It kind of adds nothing to it, so I can't help but think, obviously in my opinion, that it was done on purpose. But yeah, now at this point, the Fence Lady has now posted a couple more videos, one kind of explaining more about the situation.
Lido_Lido_ says, Lifeline, where the FK you go?
I want you to go get a gun because you dropped me in the worst spot ever. That's why you died, because of your drop.
I know we've basically seen this exact same image earlier in the video, but obviously she wasn't video gaming. This should be a shock.
I gave this notice to Tiffany's mother.
Okay, so here we have the letter that Fence Lady.
And now all 3 of us are dead
Tiffany,
because of your drop.
You can see it's on April 29th, which is a long time ago at this point, and nothing was solved. So it's not like she just woke up one day and decided to fucking take the chase off to the fence. She tried solving the issue.
After their videos, they finally removed the fence from my property to our property line. However, you can see from the survey, it said there is no fence on the property line. The fence still prevent me from repairing my house.
Yeah, so as you heard her say, she's saying that even though the fence has been moved and it is better now, it's still not on her side of the property, right? From what I understand, which with houses is very little, but from what I understand, this is the property line right here, and you have a stay on your side of the property. If you were to build on the property line, I believe you kind of need to agree with your neighbour about that. I think it's different laws in different places, which is why it makes it so complicated. But yeah, from what I understand, you shouldn't be building in this property line, and that is where the fence still is, even though it has been moved back. But yeah, like I mentioned a second ago, there's also another video that Fence Lady has posted. This is her third and final video, where she gives a final warning to Tiffany, and this has got some boss energy about it.
Hi, Tiffany Murat. This is Fence Lady. I was trying to send you this message privately, but you have blocked me. Nothing is enough. Please protect my privacy. And please delete anything with my private information.
Yeah, obviously this in regards to the fact that Tiffany was posting her full name everywhere, which clearly she didn't want out there, and it never needed to be out there. It added nothing to the story. Fence Lady didn't want her name out there. Tiffany's TikTok account, which is public, is her name, hence why people know her name, and yeah, that's why I just can only think that she did this on purpose, and she knew what she was doing by putting her full name out there.
In 24 hours.
So basically, 24 hours. Well, that is a common thing to say. 24 hours or else, I mean, she could really be casted about me. I mean, I'm intimidated. I wouldn't own a fucking fence. But now, in all seriousness, I do feel sorry for this woman. It does seem like she wasn't in the right from what I understand about the situation. There's probably some details we still don't know. But the information we do have definitely doesn't look good for Tiffany. Even if you just ignore the fence, we can just look at Tiffany and her family's actions, you know, squirting the hose on this poor woman for no reason, which is assault, and then also just the racist remarks. God knows what else has happened off camera. I mean, I couldn't even think about what's happened because she genuinely thought that video was okay and posted it herself. So even forgetting about the fence, I'm still on the Fence Lady's side, but it does seem like she's in the right with the fence as well. But yeah, I'm glad that she is now getting a lot of support, because I can't imagine how weird it must be being someone who clearly doesn't use social media, and then one day you just hear that your name is getting blasted on social media non-stop. You're thinking it's fucking like crazy Aaron who wants to destroy the neighborhood and all this stuff, the Daily Mail and posting it. It must be pretty scary, so I'm glad people are on the side now. But yeah, I would love to know your thoughts down below regarding this whole situation. Are you on Fence Lady's side or Tiffany's side? Please let me know in the comments. And who knows, maybe my next video will finally be talking about the infamous Gategate situation. We can only hope. Goodbye.
Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and this is not a video that I actually expected to be making today. I know that anytime you hear that statement from any YouTuber, it can come across as a little vague. So let me explain something to you. One of my good friends on YouTube is Vince Vintage. I consider Vince Vintage, you know, people like him, Dontavius, CoffeeZilla, to be some of the best creators on the platform. Now, Vince has been on the podcast a few times, and Vince is somebody that's currently going through a stalker situation. And you know one of the things that's being used against him? The YouTube DMCA copyright system. Woo! You know, I've probably talked about DMCA more than I talked about, you know, myself even, right? I could actually describe to you the problems with the DMCA system on YouTube more than really anything going on in my personal life. When you upload videos onto this platform, you pretty much have to study this like a priest studies the Bible, okay? Like a lawyer studies U.S. law. YouTubers study copyright law and the DMCA system. Now, Vince produces content on the platform that's kind of like video essays, video documentaries on really, interesting topics. One of my favorites is from 2 years ago where he talks about the tragic tale of Hunter Biden. A story where it really shows that if you have a little bit of clout and popularity and some money and power in the political system, YouTube can basically get away with crime, while the rest of the average Andes typically take it up the ass. But anyways, this is the video about Vince and how the YouTube copyright strike system and YouTube themselves is actually failing him. Now, this video is mostly about the nerdy teen is the FBI's most wanted hacker. Now, this is a video where I actually remember Vince reached out to me. I want to say like a couple months ago where he asked me about like Xbox hacks, typically about Xbox 360 JTAGs. So at this moment in time, I kind of piqued my interest a little bit. I'm like, anybody talking about Xbox 360 hacks? I'm ready. I'm down to watch it. Anyways, Vince produces a video a month ago, which does really well. And in this video, he covers an individual connected to not just console hacks, but hacks against the U.S. government. So somebody who's done some pretty serious shit. Now, in this video, Vince asks this individual for an interview, right? He thought, I could ask this guy for an interview because he already gave an interview for like a podcast or something, right? This guy that Vince asks rejects him, and Vince is like, whatever, you're not going to always bat 100 out of 100. So Vince fucks off, makes his video, and as his video comes out and is doing really well, he gets hit with a little bit of angriness. See, the guy that he asked for an interview was a little bit angry at how Vince told the story, and as somebody that produces videos on the platform, I know that anytime I cover a story, anytime I look into a topic or I deep dive, I'll find people that are like, oh yeah, great video, awesome cover-up. And then occasionally you will always find the person who's like, yeah, your video sucks, I hate you, you've come across with the worst defense ever. That's more like your opinion. Okay, you're going to get some people pissed off, okay? It is what it is. It's just the nature of the internet. There's people that are going to like you, there's people that are going to dislike you. What you don't expect is when that person goes so unhinged that they start filing false DMCA strikes on you. Now, Vince had effectively woken up to one of these strikes, one of them by Adam Chester 3 at Proton.me. Now, this individual, Adam Chester's name, I should just re-stress, is not the same name as the person who had a problem with Vince. See, this video got taken down by this random individual. Now, Adam Chester 3 at Proton.me already hits my red flags up. I already can tell you that this may not be a legitimate account, but for anybody wondering what that Proton is, Proton.me, Proton is Proton Mail, which is an anonymized email service that's designed to help you protect your privacy, right? So typically the people that use Proton.me are people that know about it, they know what it's there for, and in a lot of ways, while it does protect your privacy if you're like a journalist or somebody who's worried for their safety, it also protects and helps people who are criminals, hackers, bad people. You see, the people who are using Proton.me are not individuals that are using it, because they want to. It's because they need the extra features, the privacy that something like Outlook, Gmail, Yahoo, AOL, whatever the fuck email service exists nowadays that average, normies use. This, ladies and gentlemen, is very special. So Adam Chester files a copyright strike. Now, of course, you might be like, this sucks. But Mudo, why can't you just file a counter notification? And this is where you absolutely can. Now, I'm going to explain how the YouTube copyright strike works for the 900th time on my channel. Okay, YouTube has a form that anybody can fill out that claims that they are the owner of content uploaded to YouTube. So let's say somebody uploads like a minute of, let's say Starfield footage on the internet, okay? A game from Bethesda Game Studios. Now, the owner of that footage is Bethesda, okay? Bethesda, ZeniMax, any company associated in that umbrella. Now, what happens with the YouTube DMCA system, and this is why it gets so broken, somebody could take that same form and say, my name is Michael Hawk, and then give some fake bullshit address, fake information, and file a DMCA against somebody who uploaded a minute of that footage. Now, that minute could be transformative, it could have whatever. But because YouTube is beholden by safe harbor provision laws, anytime they get a DMCA claim, they just act on it, okay? They don't have a whole team that's sitting there. Well, they do have a team, but they don't have a team that's sitting there looking at every single strike as lawyers, as a legal firm. No, they just handle it on the back end and tell basically any party involved in a DMCA strike to get legal representation, because anytime you get a strike, it becomes a legal matter. So Vince, who's intelligent, he's done this, he got a law firm. Now, any YouTuber, who has, the bucks to spare will get a law firm, okay? Because generally with a law firm, you can get a lawyer to actually fight or counterclaim on your behalf. So the reason why you would want to do that is because it obscures you from that person, okay? It creates an extra layer of anonymity, right? You don't have to give your personal information. You can just give the office information of a law firm, which is 1,000,000 times safer. Another thing YouTubers do is use a P.O. box as a business address or a property that they don't live at to further obscure their information. But obviously, not every single person has that luxury, okay? It's financially a problem, and it's just a problem in a million ways, okay? Most people, unfortunately, have to give up their personal information and have that sent over to somebody that is
Going left or right?
Scumbag. It could be somebody that owns the content, which, yeah, sure, then they use your information to file a legal, lawsuit against you. But if it's some troll on the internet like this, well, they just get access to your whole information. And time again, we have seen in certain cases, this information, if it's sent to a troll, it could then be shared around to other trolls, to other assholes. So anyways, looking at this situation, ladies and gentlemen, Vince gets a law firm. The lawyer actually writes this entire thing out, and then this is what I just learned. YouTube will not let you put a signature in unless it's the full legal name of your Google account. So, ladies and gentlemen, in every way, you have to give up your name to other people, okay? No matter what. Now, for me, that's not a big issue. My name's public information anyways. But for somebody like Vince, do you actually think Vince Vintage is his last name? Would anybody watching his channel for the first time, a troll, actually believe that Vince Vintage is, or Vintage is the last name? That's a pretty wild last name to have, okay? Now, this is where things get wild, okay? Typically around this moment in time, Vince comes up to me and a couple other YouTubers, and I don't want to mention any other names because I feel like if you want to throw your hat into a ring like this, it should be of your own volition. But anyways, Vince comes up to me and I say, oh yeah, sure, I'll help you because we've got some contacts that can help him out at YouTube. So we end up linking him up to people that are working directly at YouTube. And I figured at this moment in time, okay, this is obviously a copyright troll. This is a fucking, obnoxious stalker. YouTube should hopefully be able to fix this. But they didn't. Because literally, like a day ago, Vince actually made a video where he asked and detailed the situation, where he not only showcased that one strike occurred, but there were multiple other strikes ready to happen. So this individual that he's going after, the Xbox hacker, which we'll name, he ended up getting a private investigation firm that gave him like a 130-page something fucking spread about all of this person's history, okay? Their life is not exactly the greatest life, and again, I don't want to laugh at anybody's situation, but it makes sense why he's going after people this hard. This man wanted to be in control of this story, and because he wanted to be in control of this story so bad, and I don't know what it was, maybe it was Vince, as he puts it, asking for an interview in the first place, which brought this bullseye on his back, but when his video came back, that Nerdy King is FBI's most wanted hacker, he ended up getting, like, over 3 copyright strikes. And now his channel is actually sitting in a deletion limbo. If these strikes do not get resolved, Vince loses his YouTube channel. Vince loses the ability to create further YouTube channels. And this man's entire livelihood goes into complete nothingness. It's not even his livelihood, it's this man's internet legacy that obviously matters more to him than any dollar amount. That's one of the things that he wants. And I think every creator can absolutely respect that. So to understand in this situation, another user came up and filed other copyright strikes from a Proton mail address. See, the crux of this anger comes from the fact that when it comes to the DMCA system, any scumbag can just file one against you, okay? Without any information whatsoever. And I get it, YouTube is following the base safe harbor provisions, but if somebody files a DMCA claim YouTube under the name Michael Fleming, okay, for instance, why the fuck do you not have a simple requirement of sending in a government-issued ID, a passport, something to verify that name entirely, okay? Because it really shows that the DMCA system, as it exists right now, not just on YouTube, but every platform, the burden of proof pretty much is only put onto the actual person being accused. In this situation, if somebody claims that they own 1 minute of that Starfield footage, then they better prove that they are who they say they are, and they are affiliated with the company making that claim. Some letterhead to showcase that Bethesda Game Studios sent something, a letterhead from ZeniMax, a government-issued ID from Todd fucking Howard, something to prove that the person making the claim is legitimate, true and honest, and this claim is just not a frivolous-based waste of time. That should be something that should matter, especially in a situation like this. But what's even more insulting is YouTube is not only seemingly ignoring the situation with Vince, because this has been going on for a month at this point, okay? It should not have even gone on longer than a week, 2 weeks in my opinion. But beyond the situation taking so long, the big problem is ultimately the person giving up their information is Vince. And what's really scary in this situation is Vince and his fiancée are actually in danger, in my opinion, because they've had to move their location. They've had to take extreme measures to hide from an internet stalker, all because YouTube does not just clamp down on the situation right there and then. And I get it, there's a million reasons why YouTube probably is, there's a lot of bureaucracy that goes with a big tech company. But this is so cut and dry, it's not even funny. This individual who's ruining Vince's life is somebody that is literally taking advantage of a web form, a tool that unfortunately puts so much burden of proof on the accused versus the accuser making the claim that it's not even funny. Ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mutahar, and hopefully Vince's situation gets resolved. As always, anytime there's a big YouTube issue, anytime there's a problem with this platform, I always like to talk about it on my channel, not just as a signal boost, but almost as an educational piece for people watching it, okay? Because these are things you have to worry about if you're a creator. And ladies and gentlemen, it's just one of those big problems. Every day I want to wake up on this platform and I just want to sit down and make videos and cover stuff. There are actually stories that I haven't covered. Like stories that are literally sitting on my laptop's note file, because I literally just write down cool topics from time to time. The reason I haven't covered some stories, actually some 4chan stories, is because of unhinged individuals that would do what is happening to Vince to me. And, obviously we could get a legal team and fight, but to understand, a month spent doing that is like a year off of your life. It's that stress. It's that much stress. But ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mutahar, and it's a shame that this is happening to a good friend of mine. I hope YouTube resolves this. I hope this gets signal boosted enough. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it, dislike it, And if you want to actually know the full grim details, Vince's video, you should definitely watch it. I actually omitted some things from this video, so you should go out and check it because it is a wild ride.
We've got tons of GPU news today, including some GPU price drops. We're seeing headlines that NVIDIA quietly cuts price of poorly reviewed 16GB 4060 Ti ahead of AMD launch. Now, that doesn't mean it's cut down to where you'd like it to be, but it now does mean that it costs the same as a 7700 XT at $449, instead of the same as the 6800 XT at $500. And I did double check and even posted a community post that some of these are in stock, including this Zotac Spider-Man version on Amazon. I also noticed that AMD's own RX 6800 XT has dropped as low as about $485 on Amazon. So definitely looks like that it's possible that this $400 to $500 GPU price range is finally going to get some competition from these new cards and shake things up. So maybe that means don't necessarily need to run out and buy one of these today, and maybe see what happens with these reviews. As usually it's a good idea if GPUs are coming out in a few days, maybe take a look at how they do. Now, interestingly enough, let's talk a little bit about some more Starfield results. So I got some Starfield benchmarks out like the night that the game was available, and I was concerned that I was doing something wrong because of how poorly the NVIDIA GPUs were performing relatively. But now that other channels have a bunch more benchmarks out confirming this, including what we're seeing from Hardware Unboxed here, it seems like it is just the case that especially the ultra quality preset, but really all the presets as well, NVIDIA GPUs are getting hammered compared to where you would normally expect them to fall. For example, we would usually expect in a non-ray traced result a card like an RTX 3080, especially when we're not spilling over VRAM capacity, which doesn't seem to be the case in Starfield. It's not incredibly
Yeah, before we can do that one, let's do this. Remove, play from the tar.
11 months ago, the internet was set ablaze by an explosive scandal that gripped us all by the throat and wouldn't let go. A cheating scandal that changed butt plugs forever. I'm talking, of course, Hans Niemann versus Magnus Carlsen chess cheating allegations. I'll go ahead and bring you up to speed with a brief lore recap in case you forgot. Hans Niemann is a very strong chess player, and he played against one of the best of all time, Magnus Carlsen, in a tournament. And Hans Niemann shocked the chess world when he beat Magnus. But no one was more shocked than Magnus, and he made some insinuations that there may have been foul play afoot during their match. He outright refused to play against Hans going forward, and it got real messy real quick. We started playing in the pig pen, and things were getting dirty. This led to a huge effect where everyone was coming out to speculate on what the fuck was going on. And not just smooth-brained goober idiots like myself, but some of the most well-respected players in the entire world, grandmasters, came forward to offer their perspective on this. And Hans Niemann did have a past of cheating in online chess, but never in person. And cheating at an in-person over-the-board chess event is a very hard thing to prove. Eventually, the community started to come up with their own theories on how could he have cheated if he did. And naturally, the only sane explanation that makes sense, the only logical conclusion to draw, is that Hans Niemann must have cheated by having a vibrating butt plug lodged deep inside of his asshole that would vibrate for the correct moves to play against Magnus in this match. Thus spawned the butt plug cheating scandal that took the world by storm. It's important to note that that whole theory was only half serious. Like, I don't know how many people are diehard butt plug believers in this case, but it is like a possibility. The tech was even proven by some of the brightest minds in America. We damn near revived Oppenheimer to build a functioning chessbot butt plug. We had a lot of people on YouTube in particular come forward and make working prototype chessbot butt plugs that you could plug into your colon to help you be better at chess, just to prove that, you know, we as a species can make this. We have the technology. But the whole belief that this was a real thing was grounded in reality. Like, it wasn't super serious, but it was fun. And that's why everyone... But it really wasn't fun. His entire career was starting to crumble around him because of this reputation that he may have cheated. There's a lot of moving parts under the hood of this vehicle, and I'm not a fucking mechanic. So a lot of things that started happening behind the scenes, I am unaware of. Most people are. There's only a handful of people that really know all of the particulars that started to go on behind the scenes. Chess.com launched an investigation of their own against Niemann to investigate the cheating allegations. They wanted to see if there was any evidence that Hans Niemann may have cheated against Magnus. Fast forward, investigation concludes, Chess.com finds no hard proof that Hans Niemann ever cheated in over-the-board chess, but they do find more evidence that Hans Niemann may have cheated in more online chess than he had initially led people to believe. Eventually, another person gets involved. His name is Hikaru. He's the biggest chess streamer and one of the best players in the world. Hikaru gets involved in this directly by making some hard claims during this whole situation, which only further damages Hans. So eventually, Hans Niemann launches a lawsuit against everyone. Chess.com, Magnus Carlsen, and Hikaru. It's a $100 million defamation lawsuit. And that brings us to today. That lawsuit has concluded. It has all been settled now. And sports fans, let me be the first to tell you, it's a bit of a surprising ending to this one, all things considered. Chess.com put out a statement saying that all the sides here have been working together to negotiate in good faith to resolve everything without further litigation, and they're happy to share that they've finally made it there. They're finally all coming together, holding hands and saying, you know what, group hug in the shower. No need for any more hostility. Which is not the ending I was expecting to the Game of Thrones here. So, Chess.com released a statement saying, we're pleased to report that we've reached an agreement with Hans Niemann to put our differences behind us and move forward together without further litigation. At this time, Hans has been fully reinstated by Chess.com, and we look forward to his participation in our events. We'd also like to reaffirm that we stand by the findings in our October 2022 public report regarding Hans, including that we found no determinative evidence that he has cheated in any in-person games. We all love chess and appreciate all the passionate fans and community members who allowed us to do what we do. I really thought this was going to be a much longer case that wouldn't have a happy ending here. I was expecting this to get extremely cutthroat. I thought we were going to be seeing some kind of biblical court smackdown where Hans Niemann comes in with some crazy evidence that everyone but him is a cheater. He like fucking scholars mates the entire chess community. Like, I was really expecting this to not have a happy resolution, but I'm pleasantly surprised to see that it does. I gotta be honest with all of you here, though, sports fans. Just like the man in the yellow hat, my George is getting a bit curious as to what this agreement they reached could have possibly looked like. It had to be financial. Like, if you checked Hans Niemann's ass right now, you wouldn't find a butt plug, you'd find a lot of money. Like, this had to be some kind of financial agreement they reached because Hans Niemann's career took a huge hit from all of this. In the chess world, the biggest, most prestigious tournaments with the best players in the world are invitation only. And take a guess who wasn't getting invited to these events. That's right, the bad boy of the bong cloud, Hans Niemann. So his career kind of did nosedive from all of this because he was labeled a potential cheater, so he hasn't been able to play against the best in the world anymore. So I feel like the only way that he would have had an agreement that was satisfactory is if somehow they paid him a lot of money to be okay with it, to not drag this out any longer. That's just my guess. But that could be as ludicrous as the butt plug theory in the first place. I don't know. Maybe Hans Niemann just wanted like a very sincere apology from everyone involved and he got it. That's very possible. I have no idea. But it is important to note, his career really did reach a complete standstill from all of this. Now, one thing everyone has said, and I agree with, is that this never would have reached this point or even probably happened in the first place if Hans Niemann didn't have a history of cheating in online chess when he was younger. That is a very crucial component to why this spiraled out of control the way it did. And obviously, it's a huge factor in why people were taking sides so strongly. Once a cheater, always a cheater. No, but wait, there's no proof of him ever cheating in over-the-board chess. We can't just go off of his past when he was a younger kid. Like, come on. So it led to a lot of messiness in the entire community. This whole thing was very unfortunate for literally everybody involved. But I do want to go ahead and look at both Magnus Carlsen's statement and Hans Niemann's statement. Magnus Carlsen said, I acknowledge and understand Chess.com's report, including its statement that there is no determinative evidence that Niemann cheated in his game against me at the Sinquefield Cup. I am willing to play Niemann in future events should we be paired together. Hans Niemann said, I am pleased that my lawsuit against Magnus Carlsen and Chess.com has been resolved in a mutually acceptable manner and that I am returning to Chess.com. I look forward to competing against Magnus in chess rather than in court and am grateful to my attorneys at Ovid and Ovid for believing in me and helping me resolve this case. So it seems like everything going forward will be business as usual. Magnus Carlsen will no longer just throw if he plays against Hans, and the two will go back to playing very high-level chess. It remains to be seen if Hans Niemann will now start to get invited to more of the bigger chess events that he's been missing out on. Chess.com seems to say that he's welcome to be at their events now, so he can start participating again at the highest level. So we're just going to have to wait and see how all of that unfolds. Hans Niemann did, however, release another video of his own here, where he gets like right up in the camera like the goddamn Joker in The Dark Knight here, saying, hey, I'm fucking back, baby.
Hello, Chess World. You miss me? There will be a day when I will be the best chess player in the world, and I think it's time to let my chess do for itself.
It's like a fucking WWE intro out here. So he does also say in that video that he still believes the Chess.com reports are defamatory and denies some of the allegations from it.
Still got one in there?
I'm still pleased that the whole situation is behind them now, so that way he can continue to move forward and play it at the highest level. So that's where this whole cheating scandal finishes, I guess. 11 months in the making, and overall, a pretty happy ending for most people involved in this case, it seems. So yeah, just wanted to give you the definitive update on it with the finale, and that's about it. So yeah.
To give us an inside perspective from the ground, I do want to welcome in Jim Colgan, one of the thousands trapped at Burning Man. I do want to mention Jim and I go back. We were both John S. Knight Fellows at Stanford. Jim, it is good to see you, my friend, albeit not in these circumstances. Jim, can we start with how things devolved? I know that you're being told to shelter in place. You say things really went downhill starting on Friday.
They did, Natasha. Everybody was having a very good time. It had been mild. And then all of a sudden, the heavens opened, and it started.
I gotta respawn. We just need to craft your banner.
They were suddenly told
Unless you get out.
They weren't allowed go on any of the art cars. No vehicles.
Someone's getting reborn right here.
Bicycles, and then it was even very hard as a pedestrian to walk around. Trying to move around on the playa suddenly became a very difficult task because it turned into this slimy mud, and it became very difficult to move around. You had to either take off your shoes, wear your socks, or put plastic
Bunch of death boxes over there.
in order to get anywhere. So all of a sudden, things quickly came to a halt.
And we know we're hearing about these food and water
You
shortages.
saw someone? Did you shoot?
Bathroom situation because they can't pump out the waste. What is the worst of it at this point?
Yeah, well, I'd say for me and for most people I spoke to, the worst.
Got hit from behind?
We realized that it was serious. We were told that there was a shelter-in-place order, just to either stay where you.
I don't know why you started shooting. You just came out to my area and started shooting people for no reason, bro. The fuck did you think was gonna happen? You got us pinched and dead.
Porta potties, the toilets around here that everybody uses, they could not be serviced. So it became one of the biggest fears. And sure enough, they filled pretty.
God, you
And
suck.
we know we're hearing about these food and water shortages, a dire bathroom situation because they can't pump out the waste. What is the worst of it at this point?
Yeah, well, I'd say for me and for most people I spoke to, the worst of it in the beginning, when we realized that it was serious, we were told that there was a shelter-in-place order, just to either stay where you are, or if your campus goes, go there and don't go anywhere else. And then the dawning realization came, wait a second, no vehicle can come, then the porta potties, the toilets around here that everybody uses, they could not be serviced. So it became one of the biggest fears. And sure enough, they filled pretty quickly, and people were told on the radio here and other sort of the organizers' official statements to maybe try and avoid use the toilets for necessary purposes. But then today, I have to say, there were some cheers around, and I looked around to see what the cheers were about, and it was because one of those toilet trucks had made its way in and was about to clear the public toilets. So that happened.
These blessings you don't expect to be cheering from during your Burning Man experience. Can I ask, on a serious note, how are people reacting to the news of the individual who died? Is this sparking fear or extra concern as everyone is being asked to stay in place and not leave?
What's interesting here is we don't have a lot of access to news from the outside world. Like it is more internet now, both provided by the organization and some people turning on their sat links like I'm doing here thanks to a campmate. So there hasn't been a whole lot of absorption of outside news, so not a lot of people are talking about that. But there are a lot of signs around camps, a lot of warnings and how dangerous the electrical situation can be. But there also, everybody is being urged to conserve food, to make sure that their neighbors have enough resources and that they are rationing, because for a lot of the time we didn't know when we were going to be able to leave, a little more than what they planned. But one thing that's not going to be, too much more, or then things will get scary. But I think people are very much banding together and are trying to, stick with one thing.
Yeah, Jim, I know it was so hard for you to even find a spot today where the connection was strong enough to do this. I'm so grateful that you took the time. I know you mentioned as well, I just want to note for our viewers that you have been seeing people defying that order to shelter in place, taking bikes with a spoken and trying to get their way out, and we're just not sure what's become of them. But Jim Colgan, live for us on the ground in Burning Man. I truly appreciate your time. Stay well. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
So how was Flair? Did he behave at all? Yeah, the guy, I'm going to just go out on a limb and say the guy's got some issues. You think? Yeah. I mean, he'd drink his own blood if he told him it had gin in it, I think.
Yeah. 30 years. I never saw him take a drink of water.
Yeah.
But breakfast, hard liquor, vitamins, hard liquor.
Yeah.
Lunch, couple beers, hard liquor, night wine. I love him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But
I never saw him drink.
He's down. He's hurt. He's hurt bad right here. Oh my God, he's killing me.
Yeah, he said he's back in. He said he did 30 days sober and then walked across the street to a bar.
Sneezed on that guy.
Yeah.
Right,
That's right. The funny part is
that's who he is.
Yeah, he's the man. The funny part is when he had that really serious health issue.
Yeah.
I got a call from Wendy.
Or let him heal up.
So
Whatever.
Got a plane right away, flew up to Atlanta. And I walked in, the doctor pulled me aside. He goes, hey, your buddy here has destroyed his body inside. Some of his intestines and stuff are dying and stuff because he's got a 5% chance of getting through the surgery. So he goes in, we wait, Jimmy Hart was with him. We waited, he comes out. He's still alive. His girl's crying, his daughter Ashley's crying. I'm sitting there holding his hand. 5% chance of making it. He opens his eyes. He looks up at me and goes, Hogan, get me a six-pack. I went, what? First thing he said to me, get me a six-pack when he woke up. You know?
Yeah, I'm not shocked, man.
I know, I was just tripping, man. Just kind of blew my mind.
You know?
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's the best there ever was.
He's he said that about you, you know?
No, he's the best there ever was.
Is he the better wrestler? Is he the best entertainer? Is he the best wrestler?
He was more consistent with. I really didn't care about the business. I came from playing the rock.
Yeah.
But once he got in it, he was real consistent. He held it down. Like when I was doing the New York Madison Square Garden thing, he held the Southern Belt thing down, which was actually a little harder because he was going an hour every night. Sometimes they do like what they call Broadways, where nobody wins. You do like 2-hour Broadways with probably race.
Just those two in the ring.
Yeah, because they didn't want to switch belts, so they didn't want to make either wrestler with that. So okay, you go on hour Broadway. If somebody told me to go on hour Broadway, that's just beat me. Yeah, I'm out here. I'm going to get room service and beer. Yeah. No, I say he was the best there was simply because he was so consistent. Now, if you're talking about who drew the most money internationally, who saturated all the international markets over the years, I had more time and I had more seat time, like a good race car driver. I had more seat time in all these foreign markets. And Rick spent the majority of his career down south, and he didn't have that swing on to play in the Mozambique and Bali, Malaysia, all these places where people will know who Hulk Hogan is, but they might not know who Tom Brady is.
Right.
But yeah, he was the man. I love working with him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a scrappy, he just will not be denied, really. There's something about him. And there was something about that whole NWA, I don't know if it was AWA or NWA at that time, when he was really the king of it, But it came on, I think, on Sunday night. Like, it was almost, like, I had friends that watched wrestling, right? They knew you. But I knew if they really watched wrestling, if they knew about NWA. That's when you could tell if they were the next level of fucking, it was a lot of guys that just couldn't even read and they'd be in the stands yelling, just signs misspelled.
Yeah, you had to be dialed in to be like that whole Crockett Southern Belt promotion. You had to be a wrestling fan.
Oh, you had to have rabies. I feel like
I was more accessible to the housewives and kids that didn't know what wrestling was. So it was a whole different thing. But then Rick came our way.
Yeah.
And I'd been begging him to come up there for years. He wouldn't leave. And then once he came up, then we started rocking.
Was it scary whenever he got over to WWE? Did you feel a little bit of like, holy shit, how's this going to go? Because that's a lot of ego. At that point, there's a lot of ego. There can only be so many men on the top of the, on the mountaintops.
Well, it's kind of like, it's hard to find out how you've done a lot, And for me, I'm always looking who's got the big dollar sign on the chest.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be an egomaniac, but I can actually wrestle anybody at that time and sell out. we sold out everywhere constantly for years.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if I wrestled Flair or Kamala or Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful, or it didn't matter. One man
You could
gang.
wrestle fucking Hunter Biden, dude. I'd come.
Yeah. But yeah, it was. It wasn't that with me. It was. I wanted him to get over, so I wanted somebody to chase. You know, so that was me. It was about. For me, it was like the old school thing, the money and the miles. You know. So you know, I wasn't really that into being on the road. We get beat on every night.
Yeah.
But there was so much paper involved, bro. I was in.
Yeah.
But I didn't take Tylenols, Advil, or leave for months now. I haven't drank since January 1st. But when I go when I go the other way, you ask Flair, it gets ugly.
You going in, huh?
I win.
Yeah, well, Flair. Look, I mean, yeah, Flair definitely. I mean,
he can say whatever he wants about me, but I put his ass to bed every time.
Yeah. Oh, I believe it.
Because he's at 9 o'clock. Bo, come on. 9 o'clock. He's down.
Last night he invites us out, right? So we get out of work. We had a show last night. We get out. We text his the lady, his assistant or whatever. She's like,
who's that now? Who's the new victim?
Her name's Gia. She's. I mean, I'll tell you this. She's she lifts chest a lot. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
I'll say that.
Typical Flair. I love it.
She skips arm and leg day, but she really. Yeah. And she said, "Oh, it's not. He just went to bed. You know, I just put him to sleep." But he lives that thing.
He usually sneaks off on you, though.
Really? I can see
You'll
that.
be drinking at the bar, and you'll think he's going to the bathroom. He don't come back, and there's usually this huge tab. So he's got it down, brother. Believe me, I know.
That's crazy.
The short story, Flair story.
Yeah.
In between back surgery number 4 or 5 or 6, whatever it was, I booked this Hulkamania tour. The first time I've ever booked a tour on my own overseas, like Australia. So I hired Flair and I hired a bunch of wrestlers to come with me. Flair goes, "Hey, I need my money up front." Okay, Rick, sure.
Probably for one of his wives, I bet.
He brought one of them with him.
Yeah.
They actually divorced right up.
He's always got a wife on him somewhere.
Yeah. And so I paid him up front, and all of a sudden we're getting ready to go to Australia. Wow, I'm back. He goes out. Now the tour's booked. I'm following Britney Spears around. I'm a day behind her tour, picking up leftovers.
Yeah.
I fought. And so my background, I had to have another back surgery right before I left, and I had stitches on my back when I went over there. You know, still, that's how crazy I used to be. You know, you need to like bet about 6 months for back surgery. I was gone. Let's go.
Wednesday, we're out of here.
That's like in Florida. So we get over there, and the greatest thing was the first night in Sydney, Australia. Britney Spears had a shot in crowd boat, right? So nobody came to the tours, right? The rest of the tour. So we bounced around and picked everybody up, you know. And wrestled Flair a bunch over there. And every night he'd come to me and say, "I need another $5 grand tonight." What? I already paid you. Oh no, I need another $5 grand. So okay, well, here's $5 grand. And then he kept doing it. I said, "Rick, why am I giving you $5 grand? You know, we're drawing such big crowds. You know, you need to pay me another $5 grand." So I paid another $5 grand. I went down to the bar. He's buying drinks for everybody. I mean, paying for everything. That's what he's doing with the $5 grand. He's keeping everybody in the bar to party with him all night. You know, and he wasn't going to bed at 9 o'clock.
He doesn't like to be alone, he said. He said there's been times in his life where absolutely couldn't stand to be alone.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
Because some people, they like their peace, they like their space. Yeah, he just, it was interesting, even talking to him, he just is who it seems like there's not a lot of he's just the nature boy.
That's who he is, bro.
That's who he is. It's very admirable and it's interesting, you know. But I mean, that is who he is. He likes to have a good time, and he will find it no matter what. And he wants you to have a good time too.
Yeah. I think I could be Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed that video, and you can watch another. And you can watch this one. You can watch this one. Different options, different choices.
Alright guys, it's been a good cosplay stream. We'll see you later.
No, yeah, so the story is okay.
car shop.
Okay, I'll be back. I'm gonna go.
Go back to the car shop, quick.
Bye. I'll be quick.
Oh.
So.
No.
There's two of them in here. If you can remind them.
I'm bringing Leslie because she's a social butterfly, and I realized I just left the room full of like very
Gamers.
very gamers, and so I'm bringing Leslie to save the day. I'm trusting them out.
It's not so Misty says. There's two
they're changing, and like some girls, the thing was like so.
You can
And I started having a panic attack. I was like,
This
they're doing the thing where it's going. I need to get Leslie up here. But we need the extrovert to balance out. Okay, it's cute. It's a little. Oh, okay. This arm. Ooh. I don't like
It's super fancy. Just so you know, the whole of those is pretty small, so I got the edge of your
You need shields.
Oh, I guess these might just fall occasionally.
Well,
These
so
are
many
band-aids. Oh, Leslie, say something. I'll try to mouth what you're saying.
It's a mini Valkyrie.
Well, they could be.
PKHOS my buddy says.
Okay.
Sounds rough out there.
It's mini Valkyrie.
Yeah, that was so good. Mio has binoculars trying to see what's going on. Guys, I'm tatted. Oh my god, doctor, thank you. Oh my.
What's going on?
Oh, yes.
Or maybe it's like, I don't know.
Okay, let's go.
Ball gray.
Ball gray. I look good.
Yeah, do.
Wow, it's like so compact.
So just share this here. There we go. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It's some work.
It doesn't look like the photos.
It looks like a little bit shorter,
But the boy's teeth is actually cracked, so I feel like.
Not. I'm on it, so we all know it's not.
Yeah, but I'm balancing because you're cracked a lot, and then I'm not. So like you're
Definitely.
you know, I don't know.
I'm practically neon.
Oh, it's cute.
That's that. It did it. It did it right.
You're so good at cutting hair. Oh, Leslie's taking notes for boots cuts.
Look at the angle. Look at the angle, Leslie. The way they're going.
Oh, you can actually see the yellow now.
Yeah. My hair super cute.
My hair.
Whoa,
You gotta take a picture.
That's the real Neon.
You gotta take a
That's so
picture.
Neon.
Hey, yeah.
It looks so cute. How do you stop it?
Real Neon.
It's because they're on your neck.
Oh.
Like, oh, I broke it.
Moving.
Oh, this isn't.
I've seized the respawn beacon.
Getting dressed.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh my god.
Oh.
So cute. No joy. Rap. What does she say? I don't even know her lines. What's up, Doc? I know what she said. Yeah, what does she say? She placed the turret down and she said, "Speak for me." Oh, speak for me. Tina's Killjoy. Speak for me. Children, speak for me. Good time. Good time. That's the only Killjoy line I know.
PKHOS my buddy says. Thanks.
What the heck? Every cosplay!
Scrappy DP says, I'm
I feel
back.
like we're about to go to a convention. Yeah.
It's not so
We
Misty
are, and
says.
then surely
Be
it's
fast.
time to wait.
PKHOS my buddy says. 1 minute.
Oh my god.
Scrappy DP says, I'm
I
back.
thought that was an intro.
Oh my gosh, she pulled it from your ass. Bald. Oh, surely we can do this together. So many dogs in the chat. It's crazy. Or. Whoa, that looks awesome. Nice. So tagged up. Wait, does it not supposed to go on?
Oh yeah.
I thought. Kitty. Yum yum. That's what her on. But it's there.
It works. It works.
Your mask.
Isn't it like, where does he put this thing? Because I don't think he wears
It could go on the side or on the hair. Yeah, I'm going to Neon poses. It's time for fingering.
What?
I feel like I can't smile after that.
Definitely made it more.
What do you mean then?
3, 2, 1.
I didn't know what to do with my hands, so I went up. Thank you so much, Emmy. This was so much fun.
Like a casual fun thing, but
Yeah.
if there's something specific you want to do, let me know and I can go all out. We can do I'll do makeup and everything.
Oh yeah, when we all go to Austin.
Yeah. Guys, we can actually go. It doesn't have to be lean.
Wait, we're gonna go to Austin.
Yeah.
Actually,
As soon as we all go to Austin.
but when? Thank you guys for cosplaying with Emmy and I. Okay, thanks, Marge. Thank you.
It's time for fingering.
Alexander Karelin, who's the scariest fucking wrestler of all time. Like, if anybody says, like, who's the scariest wrestler of all time, it's Karelin. They used to call him the Experiment, because his parents were, like, normal size. Like, kind of tiny, like 5'7". And he's a fucking panther, like a human panther. 6'2", 300 pounds, and you know what his move is? He throws people around. He picks them up and beats them with the earth. He's the most terrifying wrestler ever, because he would just hoist them up in the air. And look at that picture. See that picture? I have that picture framed on metal, printed on metal in the gym, just to remind me of what a pussy I am. You should always know that dudes like that have existed and probably still exist today.
Okay, so
that was fucking terrifying.
Let's play the football game of can I get a yard? You go in with this
Zero
guy.
chance.
No,
Zero
not
chance.
winning. How long can you last?
I'd have to run away. It would just be until he catches me.
Okay.
I would have to run away, and I probably wouldn't be able to run away. He's faster than me. He's big and fast.
Right.
The thing about Karelin was he was 300 pounds, but he moved like a cat. He had crazy flexibility, like ridiculous flexibility and mobility. He did all these mobility drills, and you watch his workouts. They were extraordinary. Because, like, he's doing a lot of things like shield casts with giant steel plates. So he's doing a lot of this shit. So it's like rotational muscles. His ability to manipulate things in awkward positions was off the charts. It was all like heavy kettlebell work. That guy was a freak. And his mobility, he would show all these mobility drills and different things. Like, look what he's doing. I mean, this is the fucking Olympic gold medalist wrestler.
What year is this? 80s?
I think his last wrestling matches were around, I want to say before 2000, because he did have offers. He had like one Fugazi MMA fight. It was like a fake MMA fight. Because they did a few of those in Japan. They had a weird sort of symbiosis with pro wrestling and MMA. And so there was MMA fights in Japan that are allegedly fixed. And they look fixed. You watch them, you go, get the fuck out of here. Like, it's like you see like a fake tap. You see like someone giving their arm up or something. There's some of that going on. And so it seems like he got involved in one of those, where they gave him a shit ton of money and they said, come over here, it's kind of pro wrestling, but kind of not. We'll say it's an MMA fight. It's one of those deals. But if he did fight MMA, everyone would be fucked. Everyone.
Wow.
Everyone would be fucked. And if you figured out how to strike, oh my Jesus.
You know, I'm not sure if we've talked about this before, but the precursor of MMA, I had that conversation with my brother, the judo guy, because
we would go out to nightclubs, and he's very, very small guy, probably 5'3", but built like a pit bull, and he'd kind of interact with the world as though he's 6'8", the bouncers and so on. And I once asked him, do you think you can take these guys? And he said, if I can get them, like if they knock me out before I get to them, then they knock me out. But if I get them and I can bring them down, then they're dead. And I think from my very, very limited knowledge of MMA, the guys who usually win are precisely those guys who can do exactly what he said, right?
Well, yeah, sort of. But kind of everybody knows how to defend that now. It's just how well can you defend and how good of a striker is that wrestler. Because there's this gentleman who's coming up on the scene right now. His name's Bo Nickel. And he's an elite, like, blue chip wrestler. Like, elite wrestler. Like, Olympic caliber wrestler. And now he's competing in MMA. And his last fight was a first round knockout with his hands. And he showed he's got sick boxing skills, too. Which is the most terrifying thing. When you've got a guy who's above and beyond you in grappling. Like, once he gets a hold of you, you're Fucksville. There's no way, you have one way ticket to Fucksville. He can just slam you to the ground, he's going to control you, he's going to beat your ass. They're just too good at wrestling.
Right.
And then also he can fuck you up standing. That's where it gets really dangerous. So if a guy like Karelin learned how to stand up, that would have been the end. Because there's certain freaks that, like, you just, like, athletic freaks, you're just like, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do?
So in the MMA, in the history of the MMA, is there someone that is akin to Messi in terms of like a Michael Jordan or a Messi in the MMA?
There's a few. There's a few that are in that conversation. I think the number one consensus greatest of all time is John Jones. Because John Jones just went up and easily won the heavyweight title with a first round submission. Easily. Just took the guy down, strangled him quick. And the way he did it was like so extraordinary. His control of distance, his management of the space, like the way he set it up. It's really tough to argue that he's not the greatest of all time. Undefeated as a light heavyweight, had one defeat that was a disqualification that's 100% bullshit. He was on top of this guy, smashing him, beating the fuck out of him. But they said that he did 12 to 6 elbows, which are the dumbest fucking ever rule in MMA. Because what if it's 12:05? What if it's 12:05?
Sorry, what does that mean?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
From the position on the clock.
Okay.
An elbow straight down is illegal.
Oh, I see.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you have to do it sideways, or what? How do you do it?
You do it at an angle. But it's literally because the athletic commissions that were sanctioning MMA initially, they said, you know, we've seen those things on ESPN where people break bricks with their elbows. You can't do that. It's too dangerous. So you can't do that on the ground. You can't even do it standing up, I don't believe. I think if someone comes straight at you and tomahawk elbows you, I believe that's illegal. I'm not sure about that. But on the ground, it's most certainly. And it's the dumbest rule. It doesn't make any sense. A regular elbow is
Learn crawl to us.
An elbow like this is just as hard. It might be more hard because you can kind of get more of your shoulder into it. Where this might be a more awkward move that, I mean, I'm not the best at this, but I would think that this is not as good as this. This seems like I'm getting a lot of weight into that. I'm getting the torque off my hips. This, I'm kind of coming up and down. I feel like I have more ability to generate force going sideways, going into it like that. So I think if you measured it, I bet this elbow is stronger for like the elite fighters. So it's not a matter of like whether or not it makes sense. It's a dumb rule. And that's the only time he ever lost. He got disqualified. It's the only time he ever lost. Other than that, like, he's like, at certain point in times in his career, he was like playing with his food. Like, he let fights go on too long, where he's like almost disinterested. And he wanted to try standing up with guys who were supposedly great strikers. He just decided not to try to take people down. Just try to do whatever the fuck he wanted to do. Because he's so much better than everybody, he was getting bored. And then when he has like big challenges like this second Danny Cormier fight, he stopped Cormier with a head kick. He's so fucking good. I mean, he's beaten so many people, and the way he beat them, he fought Lyoto Machida, and it's one of the most cold-blooded finishes in the history of the sport. He has Machida in he grabs him at the cage, presses him against the cage, and gets him in this perfect power guillotine, puts him to sleep, and then drops him and walks away.
We've got tons of GPU news today, including some GPU price drops. We're seeing headlines that NVIDIA quietly cuts price, poorly reviewed 16GB 4060 Ti ahead of AMD launch. Now, that doesn't mean it's cut down to where you'd like it to be, but it now does mean that it costs the same as a 7700 XT at $449, instead of the same as the 6800 XT at $500. And I did double check and even posted a community post that some of these are in stock, including this Zotac Spider-Man version on Amazon. I also noticed that AMD's own RX 6800 XT has dropped as low as about $485 on Amazon.
Come get your Evo Shield.
So it definitely looks like that it's possible that this $400 to $500 GPU price range is finally going to get some competition from these new cards and shake things up. So maybe that means don't necessarily need to run out and buy one of these today, and maybe see what happens with these reviews. As usually it's a good idea if GPUs are coming out in a few days, maybe take a look at how they do. Now, interestingly enough, let's talk a little bit about some more Starfield results. So I got some Starfield benchmarks out like the night that the game was available, and I was concerned that I was doing something wrong because of how poorly the NVIDIA GPUs were performing relatively. But now that other channels have a bunch more benchmarks out confirming this, including what we're seeing from Hardware Unboxed here, it seems like it is just the case that especially at the ultra quality preset, but really all the presets as well, NVIDIA GPUs are getting hammered compared to where you would normally expect them to fall. For example, we would usually expect in a non-ray traced result, a card like an RTX 3080, especially when we're not spilling over VRAM capacity, which doesn't seem to be the case in Starfield. It's not incredibly VRAM heavy, and especially here at 1080p Ultra, we would normally expect this to be comparable to a 6800 XT. You know, some games one's a little ahead of the other, but there's not usually a massive discrepancy. But here you're seeing the difference between 60 FPS and 42 FPS. That's a massive difference that we wouldn't normally expect, and it does confirm the results I was getting in my video. Also, though, in general, this doesn't mean that AMD is doing that well either, because the RX 6800 XT getting 60 frames per second at 1080p is hardly impressive results.
I can hear you if you get to me.
Hardware Unboxed was measuring a forest scene of the game, which I think is even more demanding than the new Atlantis scene that I was testing in my video. But again, confirmed results that these are extremely demanding. Oh, and if you wanted one of those $449 4060 Ti 16 gigabytes, looks like you're getting, about 35 FPS at 1080p Ultra in that scene. So anyway, there's that. But hey, at least you don't maybe try to play the game on an Intel GPU, because it looks like the Intel Arc owners are going to have to wait for Intel to get a working driver for the game, as it's currently just not working. Also interesting has been CPU testing. I did some CPU testing myself. I only had about 3 CPUs to compare that I just happen to have set up and ready to go in some systems. Definitely showed that you can get CPU bottlenecked in the game, but wasn't really extensive enough testing to look at results between, brands, like it's better on Intel or AMD, because I wasn't really testing equivalent performing CPUs. I was looking more of a variety of CPUs.
Turn around.
Here at PC Game Hardware, which I've machine learning translated into English, they tested a whole bunch more CPUs, and it does look like they were getting better results on their Intel CPUs. However, I will mention that they're
you're gonna die.
DDR5 5600 speed on their 13th gen Intel, while only using 5200 speed DDR5 on their AMD AM5 CPUs, and again, a slower RAM as they went down. For example, their 12th gen Intels were only on DDR5 4400. So it's actually possibly pointing to this being a RAM bottleneck, rather than preferring one of these CPU architectures over the other, and I think that could use more exploration. I don't have a bunch of different RAM kits myself, though, to do that type of testing. Also, the game did ship with only FSR, but as expected, it immediately had some DLSS mods available. And this one is really interesting from MX Benchmark PC. And I'm going to play this for a second, and I want you to watch the image stability in motion, because this doesn't show up in still screenshots, but watch as we play. I don't know how much this is going to pick up, but in the background here, it's a little bit unstable. There's some temporal flickering, and it's still here with FSR. But with the DLSS, they have the 3.5 file version in here. You can see that temporal stability improves. Now, the performance at the same resolution scale between the DLSS and the FSR 2.2, at least on the GPU they're testing here, isn't significantly different. But again, you get the reduced flickering with the DLSS upscaler. So again, it shows that it would have been nice for GPUs who can support it to have this available. By the way, if you're seeing that DLSS 3.5 there, and you're like, wait, does that work on a RTX 2060? Because isn't DLSS?
Get back out, I might be able to get them.
Anyway, I did a video earlier explaining
Stay in there, I can't
what's
help
going
you.
on with that. So yes, the DLSS 3.5 file can work on any RTX GPU, including the 2030 series. And also, no, this doesn't mean that the DLSS 3.5 exclusive feature ray reconstruction is working in Starfield, because it doesn't even have ray tracing anyway. And that feature needs specific game implementation, so just dropping in the DLL does not make that suddenly work. Now, with this game, there was all sorts of thoughts on why it would only ship with FSR rather than DLSS according to launch. There was a lot of talk about this being because of AMD requiring that as part of their partnership. Now, at AMD had originally just had a whole bunch of no comments. At Gamescom, we had AMD's Frank Azor making statements that certainly sounded like Bethesda was free to use DLSS in the way they wished to. Getting some clarification. Now, to be clear, though, this tweet is not exactly... Also, this tweet has been deleted, and this is a Reddit post that has the direct quote. Not specifically talking about Starfield specifically, but more AMD-partnered games in general. Digital Foundry's John Linneman apparently tweeted, I wouldn't put a label on what I do. I'm not out here investigating things and I don't want to. What I can say, because it was on DF Direct, is that I've personally spoken with 3 devs that implemented DLSS pre-release and had to remove it due to sponsorship. Now, to be clear, he is not saying Starfield specifically with that deal, but other apparently AMD-sponsored games the devs did implement DLSS and then removed it as part of this partnership, the partnership with AMD, the sponsorship. Now, what the exact terms of that arrangement were, if the devs were required to or just encouraged to or whatever, is not entirely clear based on this statement. And again, he did end up deleting the tweet and clarified that, like, no problem, I also deleted it due to confusion. I wasn't talking about Starfield at all. So, again, we don't know exactly what happened, but it doesn't seem to have taken modders very long to implement DLSS, and it does seem to provide some image stability and reconstruction benefits over the FSR implementation of the game if you have an RTX GPU available. Now, speaking of AMD GPUs,
got him! Good job, bro. Nice way to push that, a way to get a win out there. Good job, Winston, Wilson, whatever your name is. The weird guy with the white coat and the red face.
Where we see that it did match closely, but a little bit behind the 4070. Not as fast as...
Is that what Sykkuno was?
Closer to the RX 6800. But it's also clear when looking at comparing NVIDIA to AMD in TimeSpy scores that this does not always line up how they perform in actual gaming benchmarks. This is a synthetic test, so it's not necessarily great at comparing different GPU architectures in their actual gaming performance. That being said, we're also, a couple days later, got leaked RX 7800 XT TimeSpy score results. Now again, this is not a full-on like TimeSpy screenshot. This is everybody's favorite GPU leaker, Compite7 Kimmy, saying 7800 XT, about 19K. When he makes tweets like this, he's generally referring to TimeSpy results, and it's not giving an exact number. This VideoCards.com article has summarized, where that would fall, plus the leaked 7700 XT result, in line with various GPUs. I think giving their kind of average TimeSpy results. Is what they're compared against. So of course your GPU might perform better or worse than that, especially if you're overclocking it or something like that. But these results would put the 7800 XT neck and neck with the RX 6800 XT. The 6800 XT, like I said, has had its price fall as low as $485 right now. So that's certainly interesting, again, with the 7800 XT coming in at a $499 MSRP. Again, 4070 is a bit behind that, but again, these are synthetic benchmarks, so we need to make of that, what we will. And we can also see, again, the 7700 XT there, fairly close to the score on the RX 6800. RX 6800s right now look like about $430 when you look at the cheapest new models. So certainly interesting to see how the 6800 XT and 6800 do against the 7800 XT and 7700 XT once we do get those benchmarks out there. Again, speaking of AMD and speaking of the 7700 XT, 7800 XT, all of that, Club 386 had a really interesting interview with AMD's Radeon head, Scott Herkelman. This is very long. I can't read you through this entire interview, but links to everything I'm talking about today will be in the video description. I did go ahead and take some notes on what I found were the most interesting highlights, but there were certainly some other interesting in that interview, and there were questions like, hey, the 7700 XT at $449 is priced very close to the 7800 XT at $499. It doesn't, if you look at the specs, that seems to be too close of a price, right? Scott Herkelman replied with, well, $50 is a big deal. And now, by the way, I wasn't direct quoting the question, but that was the topic. Here's the direct quote from Scott Herkelman, at least part of it in his answer. $50 is a big deal for people who are looking at 7800 XT to 7700 XT class of GPUs. I'm going to argue that if you're spending $450, $500, well, it is more and it is noticeable. That's not crazy different. Anyway, get on with this quote. The price could always be cheaper on a GPU, but if we don't make money, then it's hard to make a roadmap. $50 at this level is a good price gap, and we'll have to see how it plays out on the market. I bolded that because that's the big thing, is AMD does have a history of launching GPUs, and then a few months later seeing the prices drop as they respond to the overall market, and it seems to be hinting that, well, that might be what we see happen here. We tried to go super aggressive on pricing, but at the same time, we're a company and have to make money. So that's the overall response. Again, I really think it's missing the mark. In other words, I think some people expected the 7800 XT to be more like $550, and so $450, $550, maybe you're less excited about the pricing on the 7800 XT, but at least the price gap between the two models seems to make a bit more sense. At a $50 price difference, it does seem like a bit of a tough sell on the 7700 XT, which is going to have 10% fewer CUDA cores, but it's also only 75% of the VRAM and 75% of the memory system, right? So probably more than 10% performance difference and VRAM difference for $50 at that price point. Seems a little rough. Anyway, some other topics in the video. Lower end chips will be offering worse performance per dollar increase over time. APUs in older gen will fill gap below 7600. So he was asked basically about, are we going to do anything below the 7600? So this bold was kind of my note on the topic, not a direct quote, but basically talking about lower end segments. So here were some interesting quotes. We still do have a good portfolio down below on Navi 2, whether that's RX 6500 or 6600 series or 6700 series. There are constraints going forward for smaller dies insofar as producing affordable silicon that gives you good gen-to-gen performance benefits. The smaller the die you produce, the harder it is to get that increase in performance for the cost. You'll start to see some slowdown in roadmaps below that $150 to $200 discrete GPU pricing. That's the challenge of inflation, the challenge of Moore's Law, and the market that we're in now. So right there, we're basically hearing the lower end segment, that $150 to $200 and below, probably is not going to be seeing a whole lot of interesting stuff moving forward. That's kind of what he's saying. It's more difficult to hit a good performance bump and keep that same price point, at least according to him. So, also interesting was the mention of APUs in that segment. So he says, at least from AMD, you'll start seeing APUs being pretty good at that lower pricing level, where we normally see a discrete GPU, and this will only strengthen as time goes on. He talks about whether or not people can really accept that in the desktop space. He says if people can get over that mental hurdle, they'll actually find an APU can play most esports games pretty well. So kind of saying that if you're not into the like graphically demanding single player games and you just want to play esports, that maybe APUs would fit the bill and get the job done for you at a lower price. So interesting stuff there, and I did skip over some of it. Some response to that, but let's get through some more quotes and I'll give some more thoughts. Anyway, also asking about AFMF, which is AMD Fluid Motion Frames, being limited to RDNA 3 GPUs. To be clear, this is not FSR3. FSR3 will be available on a wider range of GPUs, but the feature of doing the frame interpolation without the extra benefit to the motion vector data and all that, but being applicable to almost every DX11 and DX12 game, being exclusive to RDNA 3, was asked about that, and the quote in response was, "We have to start somewhere. I can say that we're exploring enablement for older generations. Do remember we're launching a few things close together, FSR3, HyperRX, AFMF, and so we had to limit something by prioritizing and focusing with teams. There's an exploration happening, so if there's good reception of AFMF and gamers believe it to be worthwhile, we'll take it to the next step and see if we can enable it on RDNA 2. If that goes well, then
You guys hit hard behind us.
for now, we're focusing on getting AFMF to the market." So basically what it sounds like to me is it's a cool idea, and they'll be able to get it to market sooner if they just target RDNA 3. And honestly, guys, there's a big question on whether the image quality of this, not FSR3, but like the non-motion vector version of this that just runs at the driver level, whether the image quality would be good enough, and whether the input latency would be good enough, and all of that, for this to really be an exciting feature. If it is an exciting feature, it sounds like then they would look into maybe bringing that to other GPUs and putting in the work, but for now it's more just getting it out there and kind of seeing how it goes and maybe expanding support in the future. But it looks like they're at least open to that. They were also directly quoted about AMD's ray tracing weakness versus NVIDIA, and if they're gonna plan anything about that. The quote in response is, "I think we still have the lead in performance per dollar. Yet we do take ray tracing performance into consideration when doing our pricing calculations. Reviewers like yourself, speaking to the Club 386 interviewer, tell us we're doing okay in pure frames per second, but not so good in ray tracing. So we try to price that difference in our SCP, ensuring Radeon GPUs offer great value." So basically, the initial response is, in the current market, they're just going to price with ray tracing in mind. So they should be offering better non-ray tracing performance per dollar, and then when you do enable ray tracing, then, well, hey, at least it costs less. I guess that's kind of what they're saying for now. And they do say, we just have to do better on future generations, making sure we have the right architecture for efficient ray tracing. Furthermore, we need to continue working with ISV partners for games to have the best experience. So that sounds like they are acknowledging that, there is a future in ray tracing in games and that they do need to have hardware that can deal with that. It seems like NVIDIA's moved towards that. These chips take years ahead of time of planning to get them out to market, right? So if you get kind of blindsided by you weren't planning on ray tracing being a thing and then suddenly it is, now you have to spin things around, but that can probably take a long time to get hardware that's really taken that, in
Are we going to there?
Maybe as a more central point. Anyway, and they're also just talking about implementations with game partners, working with that kind of thing. Also, a big difference we're noticing between NVIDIA's 4000 series and AMD's 7000 series is energy efficiency. And when asked about this energy efficiency deficit, this is part of the quote, it was a very long response, but it said, "In notebooks that matters greatly. In desktop, it matters, but not to everyone. There's some people who are really concerned about power, others don't care as much. Because the idea is in a notebook, like your battery life constrained, so you really cannot ignore the power consumption. In the desktop space, some people don't care too much about the extra heat and energy bill a little bit, all of that. They have a big enough power supply, they care more about just raw performance, right? So some people care more there, some people care less, and they say we definitely want to make a better performance per watt chip. A better chip makes the overall board more affordable," and he went on for a bit. Power is definitely a prime initiative. You'll see us over time get better and better at it. We need to catch up. There are still bugs that we need to fix. So this point was basically saying, like, that'll be a prime focus for the future. But then he's getting onto their current GPUs, talking about the idle power consumption issues that people have brought up. They're acknowledging there are still bugs we need to fix. Idle power is one of them. We believe there is a driver fix for it. It's a wonky one, actually. We do see some inconsistencies with idle power that shouldn't be there, and we're working with our partners to maybe help with that. It will be cleaned up, but it might take a bit more time. So it's certainly acknowledging some issues they can probably clean up with drivers, but others will probably just take, future generations moving forward, but making that a prime focus. Honestly, guys, he's not saying, but it seems like the 7000 series kind of missed its mark in performance per watt efficiency that they were going for. Now, and related to a lot of what he was saying here, remember his mention of APUs being an interesting space for the lower end segment, and those becoming more important and more powerful. Well, at videocards.com, we're seeing a leak of AMD's next-gen Ryzen 8000 APU.
Yo, let's get out of here. Follow me, buddy.
16 RDNA 3.5 GPU cores. This is kind of just some hardware info screenshots, probably from some kind of an engineering sample, pointing to that. It'll be interesting to see how these perform. Again,
I'm gonna
if
go
you really
get this
stop
guy
getting
to
any
a
really low
beacon.
end or low price GPUs with much performance gain, it will be interesting to see how the APU segment can play into that. Another thing I wanted to bring up is, part of what he said about there not being a maybe necessarily anything below the 7600 and being harder, but the 6000 series filling in the space below that. This is not official, this is rumor, but we are seeing reports that AMD has halted production of the RX 6650 XT, and that is expected to at least be sold out in China by the end of September. This is looking like it's coming from the Board Channels forum, and the official quote saying the AMD factory plans to stop production for a certain GPU. At present, the shipments of all AIB brand manufacturers have stopped production and inventory has been digested.
There you go, buddy.
AMD has discontinued production of the RX 650 XT, and basically all brands have sold out of stock, and it is estimated that they will be almost sold out by the end of September. Now, it is just the 6650 XT, but we'll have to see what happens with the rest of that 6000 series. Again, cards like the RX 6600 non-XT have been hanging in the $180 to $200 range, which has been a nice budget GPU for sure. Anyway, let's move on to some other topics. So a while back, I reported that Intel's NUC division, which was doing little mini PCs and more, was being, kind of winded down. Intel was no longer going to do that. However, it looks like Asus has officially taken charge of the NUC division. So basically, Asus is now the owner of NUC. And is going to move forward with that. So NUC is not dead, it just no longer belongs to Intel, basically, is what I'm making of that. Some other interesting devices, we're seeing Ayaneo Kun, or I don't know how to pronounce KUN, features an 8.4-inch 2.5K display, 75 watt-hour battery, and Ryzen 7 7840U APU, up to 54 watts, costs from $1,000 to $2,000. Interesting. We have also seen from Ayaneo, though, some other models being tested. Like, I don't think I pulled it up here as a tab, but I just saw the Ayaneo 1S, which has a little, I think an OLED screen, is much smaller, very small form factor. That one certainly looked interesting. We've also seen the Lenovo Legion Go with the detachable controllers and stuff. But anyway, this handheld gaming PCs are really picking up steam. A lot of very interesting models come out. Again, that 1S from Ayaneo that has the OLED display is certainly interesting to me. Because right now, that's my main concern with the Steam Deck, is I'm just not a huge fan of the display quality. So having an OLED display would certainly be interesting as an option. In other interesting stuff, how about Colorful introducing the GeForce RTX 4060 B760M and custom PC Tower chassis, all under the Colorfire Meow series. Certainly interesting to see some different sorts of designs. I think this might be a China-only thing, but certainly a different sort of design than the standard gamery designs, which I like to see some varieties in availability. Also from Sapphire, they're coming out with the Party Animals series. So Radeon GPUs. So interesting stuff on those kinds of designs. And other interesting designs, Maxsun has launched a 5-fan RTX 4090. If you think this looks
I knocked one down.
not only have I reported on the 4070 Ti and 4080 version of this 5-fan cooler, but I believe Gamers Nexus even did a video on, I can't remember if it was the 4080 or 4070 Ti version of it, but even had a teardown and stuff like that, where it's not unclear if these fans, if I remember right, were really doing much, but it's certainly interesting to see different sorts of GPU designs.
There's one right across on the top. He was hurt. He has broken shield.
We're also seeing a new Galax RTX 4090 AIO solution that's in white.
Got him.
So again, not this the only AIO solution, but again, kind of a not just your typical GPU design. And we're also seeing Asus with an RTX 4090 Evangelion. I always forget if it's a hard G or not. Whatever. Anyway. Debuting in China. Looks like it's not cheap, as no 4090 is. And again, they have more.
Fuck! What just happened? This came from behind me.
Lineup, also unique designs.
Where's our teammate?
AMD's Starfield.
You're letting them heal up, bro? What are you doing?
XTX GPU along with a 7800X3D CPU. The CPU really just has a unique box, but the GPU itself actually has its own, Starfield themed design. Now these were being given away as prizes, but this one's ended up on eBay and is currently at over $4,000. So certainly not a bang for the buck purchase in a value perspective.
Really great.
The AMD,
really great. Instead of just killing them,
premium,
you decided to just wait, let them heal entirely, get their friends up. Jesus Christ, what's wrong with these kids?
We're also seeing Sapphire formally introducing its 7800X and 7700X.
Fucking kidding me right now?
Pure series with videocards.com having some screenshots of those. And we are seeing Zotac launching the VR Go 4.0 backpack with NVIDIA RTX 8000 GPU costing 3,700. Is that pound? That's pounds, right? Great British pounds. The point is, I'm an American. The other point is, that's a lot of money, and not necessarily the highest end hardware, but the idea is that you have a PC and a backpack for playing VR stuff. It's certainly interesting. Now, they already released a version of this back in 2022, and I believe this is actually a downgrade of the graphics card, because the 2022 version had an RTX 4500 with 16 gigabytes, and it appears to be an 8 gigabyte A2000 GPU in this version. So, yeah, seems like a downgrade. And also in a little bit of PC gaming news, it looks like Final Fantasy 16 PC version and 2 DLCs are now in development. But it probably will be quite a while before we actually see the PC version of the game. Anyway, hopefully you guys found today's GPU news and PC hardware news video interesting and or useful. Stay tuned for the channel, especially as we get into next week with the 7700 XT and 7800 XT and all that. Sure, we'll have some interesting things to talk about, and I hope all of you have an excellent day.
Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome back to Podcastage. The SE Electronics V7 is one of my all-time favorite dynamic mics, and it costs about $100. SE just released the SE V2 Switch. It is half the price at $50, so I'm reviewing it to see if it's any good. If you are interested in the mic, I will put some affiliate links in the description down below. Using those really helps the channel. All of the recording settings will be listed in the doobly-doo and the description. And now let's talk about what comes in the box, and I don't know where it is. I found it. I'm fine. I am not embarrassed. Everything is okay. What a surprise. You are going to get the microphone. You'll get a zippered storage pouch, a microphone clip, a 5/8 to 3/8 inch microphone stand adapter, a little bit of documentation, and some stickers. As far as the build quality, I have zero complaints about this thing. It has an all-metal chassis as well as a metal mesh grille with no give to it. On the side, it does have a plastic on-off switch. There is nothing else along the exterior of the microphone. On the bottom or the rear, you will find the XLR port. And if you care, this microphone is made in China. I'm not going to read them to you, but I will list all of the specs in the description, and I will also have a couple of the graphs up on screen in case you want to pause and take a closer look at any of that. Now I'm spinning around the V2 to 90 degrees to show you how the off-axis calibration and rejection are. Continuing around to 180 degrees. This is the rear of the mic. Moving around to the second 90-degree angle, there we are, and then rotating and ending at the front of the mic. Now let's go ahead and see how well the microphone rejects plosives. Please bring pizza pronto. Please bring pizza pronto. Please bring pizza pronto. But also, how would it handle plosives if your mouth is right on top of the grill? Please bring pizza pronto. Please bring pizza pronto. Please bring pizza pronto. Now I am right on top of the microphone to exaggerate the proximity effect, and here's how it sounds. Now about 3 inches off of the mic with it pointed at the corner of my mouth, and here's how it sounds. Now I'm about 6 inches off of the microphone talking directly into it, and here's how it sounds. Pretty much nobody will use it this way, but here it is 1 foot away from the mic. Now I'm about 2 feet away from the V2 switch, and about 2 feet away from the V2 switch. Now I am typing on a keyboard with Gateron Blue switches to see how much of my voice versus how much of the keyboard it picks up. And for the gaming folk, now I'm clickety-clacking on the SAD W and spacebar keys. Now, here is how the microphone sounds about 3 inches away from my mouth in a relatively well-treated room. And now, here is how the microphone sounds about 3 inches away from my mouth in a completely untreated space. Next, I want to see how effective the microphone is at rejecting shocks. So I'll start by tapping on my desk to see if it can reject that. And then I will tap on the boom arm. Also, because I am incredibly annoying, I'm going to tap on the body of the microphone to see if there are any kind of resonant frequencies. Because this is a handheld mic, I will pass it back and forth between my hands to see how much of that noise it can reject. Although I don't recommend it, I do want to include a demo of cupping the microphone. So here is how it sounds when the grill of the microphone is not covered. And once I encapsulate it in my hand, here is how it sounds. Again, here is how it sounds without cupping the grill. And here is how it sounds once your hand encapsulates the grill of the mic. Not great. I also want to see if there was any kind of audible click or noise when we turn on or off the microphone, so let's go ahead and try that. Now, like I always do, I'm going to do a quick spoken word comparison between the microphone that we're reviewing and a bunch of other microphones that are available so we can hear how it stacks up against the competition and hear it in the context of the market. Starting on the V2 switch, I am 3 inches off. My gain on the 18i20 is at 330, and here's how it sounds. Let's jump to the first mic. Starting on the Behringer XM8500, I am 3 inches off. My gain is set at 330. This microphone costs about $25, and here's how it sounds compared to the SE V2 switch. Let's go back and do a bunch more comparisons. Back on the V2 switch for a palate cleanser, here's how it's sounding. Let us jump to another mic. Now I am on the Shure SM48, 3 inches off with my gain set at 330. Make sure to check the lower third to see how much I boost each of these in post. This microphone costs about $50, and here is how it compares to the V2. Let's go back and do some more. Alright, we are back on the V2 switch to clear out
Wait, you're dead?
Again. Here is how it sounds. Let's hear another one. Now I am on
Where's
the
this dude at?
M89D, still 3 inches off, gain still set at 330. This microphone costs about $50. Here is how it sounds compared to the SE V2 switch. Which one do you like better? Let's do some more testing. Alrighty, we are back on the V2 again. Nothing has changed. Check the lower third to see how much I boost each of these in post. Let's do another comparison. Now I am on the Lewitt MTP250DM, 3 inches off, gain set at 330. Nothing has changed.
How did that guy
This
die? He's back
microphone
alive?
jumps up in
Do
price
I need to go pick him up?
$100. And here's how this sounds against the SE Electronics. Does it sound 2 times
Do we need to
better
go
or
craft
not?
your banner?
Let's go back and do some more tests. Okay, this is the V2 switch again, still 3 inches off, gain still at 330.
Where is this? Oh, he left us. What a
do some
pussy.
more
What the fuck? I could have just got him up.
Next, I am on the Sennheiser E835, an incredibly popular microphone. I am 3 inches off. My gain is still set at 330. Check the lower third. This microphone costs about $100, and here is how it sounds compared to the V2. Let's go back and do 4 more comparisons, I think. Alrighty, back on the SEV2 switch. It is switched on, as you can hear, and here is how it's sounding. Let's go to another microphone. Now I am on the Shure SM58, an absolutely classic and probably the quintessential handheld dynamic mic. What a shocker, 3 inches off, gain at 330. This microphone costs around $100, and here is how this compares to the V2 switch. Which one did you like better? Let's go back and do 3 more comparisons. Back on the V2 switch, this is the third to last microphone. Here is how it's sounding. I couldn't remember the cool name somebody gave me for this positioning, but that's how it sounds. Third to last microphone, let's go. Now I am on the big brother to the V2 switch, the SE Electronics V7. I am 3 inches off, gain at 330, check the lower third. This microphone costs about $100. And here is how it compares to its tiny little baby brother that is the same size. It's the same size, it's just a different price point, different capsule, all of that. But there you go. Comparison V2 against V7. Let's do a couple more. Now we are back on the V2 for the penultimate palette cleanser. Here is how it's sounding. 3 inches off, 330 on the gain. Let's go to the second to last mic. Now I am on the Audio-Technica AT2010. This is a handheld condenser microphone, the only one in this comparison. I am 3 inches off, 48 volts is on, gain is set at 330. Check the lower third, I will have to boost this quite a bit less. This microphone costs about $120, and here is how it compares to the V2 switch. Let's go back and do one final comparison. And you all know what the final microphone is going to be, so here is your final palette cleanser on the V2. Let's go to the last mic. And finally, we are on the Neumann. Hello, Neumann. U87AI. I was told I can't do the hello, Neumann thing because it throws the entire comparison off. It makes it useless. But here is how the Neumann sounds. I am on the cardioid polar pattern, no pad, no filter, 3 inches off, gain at around 1130. This microphone costs $3,700. It's not a fair comparison. This is a control, but here is how it sounds to the V2. Let's go to the music test.
Rings nearby, 1 minute till close. 45 seconds, rings close.
I have got all the microphones I need, but I'll never stop reviewing them. You are never getting rid of me. Until I am 6 feet underground, I am not going to stop reviewing, testing, and demoing microphones. So you better get used to it, buddy. Get used to it! And let's move on to the conclusion. What a weird thing to brag about. Until I'm dead, I'm not going to stop testing mics. What? I know that by now I'm starting to come across as an SE Electronics shill, but they continue to put out products that I like, and this microphone is another notch in the bedpost. I like it. It's a good sounding microphone. That's what I'm trying to say. And first up, as far as pros, I found the off-axis coloration to be very inoffensive and nice. The background noise rejection on this thing was quite impressive. For a dynamic microphone, the sensitivity is quite high, so you won't need to really drive your preamps as hard as a standard dynamic. And the overall sound of this I found to be pretty natural sounding. And then as far as cons, I think the plosive rejection leaves a little bit to be desired, and the biggest con for me is the handling noise and shock rejection. I found it to be quite bad, and when I compared it to the V7, it seems like the system in the V2 is a huge downgrade from what they use in their higher end mics. And now, what are my overall thoughts and opinions of the V2 switch? As far as the overall sound, you get a bit of support in the low end, but it doesn't come across as overpowering or muddy or unclear. Then you get a push to upper midsection, but it's not overdone. It doesn't come across as artificial or aggressive. And then you get a little bit of a less extended treble and air region, so it's not as clear as its bigger brother, the V7, but it does still come across very smooth for an affordable dynamic. On the electric guitar, I quite liked it because it doesn't come across muddy in the bass or low mids. You get a bit of a push in the upper mids, but it's not overdone, and then the top end doesn't come across harsh. On the acoustic guitar, I could take it or leave it. For a dynamic, it's pretty decent, but I'm still always going to be reaching for an SDC because it doesn't have the extension that I want. For singing vocals, I think it works quite nicely if you are looking for more of that smoother character with a little bit of that upper mid focus that's not too aggressive and not too overdone. And finally, for spoken
I need to get out of here,
I
buddy.
think
I'm
you're
not
getting
staying here
a
to fight.
fairly balanced bass and low mid section. You do get that upper mid push, but it comes across very smooth and well done. And then you don't get the same extension into the treble and air as its big brother. But I don't end up with any kind of sibilance issues on this thing. I just think it's offering an overall pretty pleasing sound right out of the box. And to wrap up, would I recommend the SE Electronics V2 switch? Yes,
Oh shit, we can't go this way. We gotta go this way. We gotta go this way. We gotta go this way. Fuck, I fucked up. I fucked up. I'm sorry.
Crazy good, but that is just my personal preference. I know people will disagree with me. Some people will want that more V-shaped sound of the Mackie, or the more boosted sound of the 48, or the more condenser-like sound of the E830.
I didn't know how to get out of there.
And if that's what you want, no. Do not get this microphone. Get the one that you like the sound of better. I just personally find the sound of the V2 to be quite appealing, and the $50 price tag only makes it more appealing. Now, I did say...
John Osborne, 1561, says, "Can you tell us a Grant Imahara story?" I'd love her.
Dude, I was so
You
deep
have
into
to
this
come up
fucking
with a
video.
point of view.
dude.
You have to choose a bridge. What bridge are you going to choose? It's going to be an arch bridge. Is it going to be a stone bridge? It's going to be a suspension bridge. What kind of bridge? If you want to narratively talk about what can simply, that we're talking about is simply being pushed on a swing. This is what to think about when I'm describing a harmonic. When you are being pushed on a swing, here you are swinging and you're coming and I give you a push and you swing a little farther and you variable start times and you could lose a little bit of pressure and timing can change very quickly. It's very hard to maintain a constant pressure with pneumatic systems, especially if you've got like a whole bunch of these boot soldiers. We had this huge fight. I made my case. We had this huge fight. Help us program this thing and maybe program it for us? He said, absolutely. Actually, I think it's Grant that knew about this device. Now that I'm thinking about it, I believe he knew that this device existed. We ordered it, discovered it needed programming, and brought him over to do it. And
So today a lot of people got really mad at Jacksepticeye for coming after Mr. Beast, talking about his video style, whether he's even having fun making these videos, and whether they should be longer or shorter. Yes, It sounds like petty YouTube drama, but it's a little bit deeper than that, in my opinion at least, and I think it opens the door to a conversation about what YouTube videos should look like. Should they be just fun things that we do? Does profit matter? Should everything just be for views? There's a lot of interesting topics to talk about surrounding the subject, not just the drama itself. So today we'll delve into a couple things. So today we'll delve into numerous aspects of the drama. Also, big shout out to Boblax for aggregating all these clips and tweets into his video. You should definitely check it out, especially given that probably the most important tweet surrounding the entire situation, which is Mr. Beast's response to Jacksepticeye, was removed and deleted from Mr. Beast's Twitter page. So, of course, for context, let's take a look at what Jacksepticeye actually said.
Completely unrelated question. Do we like Mr. Beast? No. Oh! Do you think Mr. Beast ruined YouTube? Yes. Now, in all honesty, Jack, because it became more about views, money, and popularity than it did. You still think he had fun playing Squid Games? You think he had fun riding on yachts? If he had wells in Africana, if he had fun doing those videos, it'd be longer. We'd see the Right, you're gonna get me. Here's the issue with you. I don't know, there's a lot of rumors and pedophiles in our country.
So I think what's really important here when analyzing what Jack said is they asked, do you like Mr. Beast? And he said no. This can be taken a couple of ways. I'm going to be charitable in my interpretation because when I think of how I would respond to that sort of question if somebody were to ask me, I would assume that when somebody says, do you like Mr. Beast? I assume that they're saying, do you like his videos? If somebody asked me, hey, do you like Mr. Beast's videos? I'd say, no, I don't really watch them. They're not for me. It's not my sort of content. And so when I hear Jacksepticeye say that, I don't think he's saying, oh yeah, I can't stand Mr. Beast. He's a piece of shit. But clearly, in his later response, he does have some form of resentment because he does say Mr. Beast, whether he likes it or not, is a large reason why YouTube is the way it is today. And I totally agree. If you look at a lot of the content creators that are clones of Mr. Beast, they're clones for a reason. Because it is a really, really financially viable solution to just copy what Mr. Beast does. And oftentimes you'll see Mr. Beast say things like, man, so many clones, it's so annoying, I wish people weren't ripping my style. The truth is, his style is really, really effective at making as much money as humanly possible on the platform. And let me be clear, I think that everybody at the very beginning is generally passion-filled when they start their YouTube career. Just by the nature of YouTube, you have to be full of passion and really excited to be a content creator. I have made 600 videos or something. I don't know, 500, 400. There's so many videos in my unlisted. Videos that you guys don't see anymore, but videos that I made, published, people watched. I made those for free. I don't think I've made very much money. I think I've made maybe $1,000 in my lifetime on this channel, which is $1,000 more than I would have had otherwise, but it's still not money that pays the bills. I do this because I love it. I do it because I really enjoy engaging with my audience, and I also think that it's something that eventually, if I continue to do and love and continue to get better at, yeah, eventually I will make money, and eventually it will be probably a profession of mine. But at the end of the day, money is always a motivator. You have to be trying to make as much money as possible. And so I think that there's this duality that we're not really addressing here. On the one hand, I do agree with Jacksepticeye. I do think that Mr. Beast's videos are extremely formulaic, and they're made for a very broad audience, and they are made as fucking schizophrenically as possible so that every second there's something that's editing or cutting or something. So that you, the audience member, the little zoomer with a fucking half a millisecond attention span, so that it makes sure that you do not click off the video. Because we need that AdSense revenue. And I agree, we do need that revenue. But that's why it's made like that, and that's why I just can't watch it. It's overstimulating, it's on subjects that I don't really care about, and it's just an editing style I don't like. I don't like the way that it's put together. The Squid Game series, I just didn't watch. I saw the highlights because it was all over Twitter, but the reality is it's not for me. It's not made for me. But let's not confuse ourselves. When we say that it's become more about views, money, and popularity rather than having fun, let's be honest here. You always wanted the views, money, and popularity. We all do. That's just in its nature, and that's a part of having fun. When Let's Plays were the meta, do you think that Jacksepticeye wasn't making millions and millions of dollars? Are you out of your mind? Do you think that when he was collaborating with PewDiePie and Markiplier that those weren't extremely lucrative projects? It's a balance that needs to be struck. Yes, fun is important, but so is money. Both are important. Viewer retention is important, and sometimes the only way to keep your viewers engaged is to edit like you're schizophrenic. schizophrenic. Myself, for example, a big reason why I make these types of talking head commentary videos is because I really like talking to a camera. But guys like Cheeto, guys like Dumpy, they prefer to do gameplay commentary. Nothing wrong with that. Doesn't mean that they're stupid or fucking less creative, or you can make the argument that they're better than me or worse than me, depending on what your preferences are as a viewer. But regardless, I think that making content should always be a balance. A balance between your enjoyment in creating the content and the enjoyment of the audience members that are watching it. So when we're talking about fun, maybe Mr. Beast really does enjoy making these really fucking complicated, convoluted, highly expensive projects that he puts out on his YouTube
I got a
channel.
drop
Now,
from the sky to put out too.
So I quote-unquote ruined YouTube because I didn't buy a mansion and sports cars and instead reinvested my money into making content / focused on doing good and inspiring kids to help people. If he had fun, videos would be long. What does that even mean, lol? You'd think I'd give up every hour of my life for 14 years if I didn't have fun? This clip is insanely disrespectful in my opinion, and obviously there's so much more I could say about his content, but I'll just take the punches and be the bigger man. Sigh. Now, I will just say this off rip, I don't think that Jacksepticeye was implying that you should have bought a Ferrari instead of reinvesting into your videos. I think that was clearly not the point. But as a couple of people on Twitter noted, this tweet did feel a lot like something that Dream would tweet, but putting that aside, I don't think it's that disrespectful. I think it's a pretty valid opinion. I disagree with Jacksepticeye's opinion. I don't think that Mr. Beast single-handedly ruined YouTube. I think there was a lot of things that happened sequentially that eventually led to YouTube not being exactly what we remember it for. But again, ultimately, it's not Mr. Beast that ruined YouTube. It's the audience. If we're being honest, it's the audience. The audience determines what succeeds on YouTube. People talk a lot about the algorithm. Oh, I'm not being featured in the algorithm. Oh, this or that. There are very, very, very rare examples. People get shadow banned or completely terminated off the platform. But for the majority of people, what is actually going on is that you're just not making content that is A, entertaining enough, or B, trending enough for people to watch. People just don't find your stuff interesting. And that's unfortunate. And I'm not addressing...
You're getting hit from behind!
But what I'm saying is, if you're wondering why Mr. Beast is successful, it's because it's what people want to watch. Whether you
Oh my God,
really
I got
like
it.
or not, it's just the case. If a lot of people want to watch something, then other people are going to take note and copy it. And over time, that will become the meta of a platform. And meta changes are normal. They're natural. They come and go. I think the easiest two examples are, let's start at the very beginning with PewDiePie back in 2012. What was he doing? He was doing these Amnesia gameplay videos. Well, everybody realized, holy shit, horror game reactions are like the best because people love that shit. And now you look at something like Five Nights at Freddy's, how it's become a massive, incredibly successful series, and anyone who plays that fucking game gets millions of views when they fucking soy the fuck out. And then another example is 2015, where Filthy Frank comes in being the most edgy person we had ever seen on the platform. Probably not the most edgy, but very, very edgy, and people started copying him. Even PewDiePie, who was mentioned just a second ago, who was supposed to be a trendsetter, he followed the trend and basically became Filthy Frank light, but in his own way. The point is, don't hate the player, hate the motherfucking game, because it's ever-changing, and people are always trying to figure out new ways to entertain and get as many views as possible. And sometimes you're just genuinely inspired to make something that you really like. And when those two things coalesce, you make something that both inspires you but also is really good for views, then you've truly found a winning formula, and for that, I would congratulate. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be back again tomorrow. I'm finally back to a good rhythm of uploads and content creation. I've got some Thai Express to eat. Thank you very much. Bye.
I want to talk about the Jonah Hill and Sarah Brady incident. And in addition to pointing out how and why Jonah Hill's behavior was wrong.
Thanks, Anna.
What do you remember from that Superplex with Hardcore Holly that really effectively ended your WWE run?
Right. I remember because, Bobby works super stiff. That's where he's been Hardcore Holly. And I lit him up in the corner with some punches, threw him in the turnbuckle, and like I could judge your foot. I could make it look like it ripped my head off, but you got to hold it there. And Bobby would later apologize to me. Last second, caught me, and my neck was moving so far, even back then. And when it hit me, boom, it kind of staggered me. Now, when he would come through with a clothesline, I would always be gone. I'm not going to be there to take that hit. but I was knocked a little silly, and my timing was off. So when he hit me, it apparently friggin' like jackknifed my neck, like whiplash type thing. By the time I hit the mat, I have no idea where I am.
So it wasn't the superplex?
What? No. That'll tell you what happened to the superplex. This is what led up to it.
Oh.
So I have no idea where I am now. This isn't the first concussion I've had.
Sure.
You know, and the one thing you learn, you know, if you're in a match, look for.
You guys are in a fight?
There's a red light. That means we're on TV. If we're on TV, we have the time. If it's not TV, I would have said throw me to the floor and knock me out. Let the cobwebs.
Oh my god, I got him, but I'm down up here. Up top. I'm down, but he's dead.
Bobby goes to slam me. I go, dude, you knocked me out. What's next?
Up top.
He goes, going off the top rope, stop. And I remember.
I got him. We died at the same time.
So he goes to climb up, and I've never seen anybody do this before. I've seen people do it after me. But instead of just running over and hitting the guy's legs, that's stupid to me. I would dive on the rope, which makes it wiggle, and that's something.
I need 9 seconds. 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The third rope, and I went,
Here it comes.
Yeah, I want to make sure I get him flat. So I go one for a second, one a third. We come back. I was so focused, hyper focused on getting him flat that I didn't think about myself. And you're supposed to hit your whole body and whole body, so you absorb the impact together. And then it's not as stiff. Still stiff, but it's not as stiff. I landed on top of my shoulders. When I landed on top of my shoulders, my body jacked me. And I hear him go, oh. But my neck, oh. What's he bitching about? You know, I know I landed flat. But now I'm like my fingers and my toes.
Yeah, you're favoring your arm as soon as you go down.
Yeah, I feel like, oh my god. So the first thing you want to do is, can I still move my toes and hands? You know, because if you can't, yeah, and that could go away.
Yeah.
But I felt the shock hit him. Like, I'll do this sometimes. I go, what's that? It's just like a stinger. And it only lasts for a second, but I'm dying. I pray it never freaking just keeps going. But I realize, like, I'm hurt. Like, I'm hurt. And he goes, you okay? And I said, no. Go home. And he was going to fucking catch me with something, and then I was going to fucking hit him with a diamond cut. So, hit him with a diamond cutter, and I'll never forget.
Care package over there.
Oh, God. So now we're backstage, and what you always do is thank your boys, you know, for great match, man. Thanks for tonight. And when he's coming up to me, he hugs me. He goes, "Man, sorry about that boot." He goes, "What you boot? I can't fucking check this." You know? He goes, "But I know I got you in that clothes on. You were this far. Look like right. Did you see my jaw? He flipped it." He goes, "I thought it tore my bicep." That's how hard it hit me.
Wow.
So he goes, "But you got me back." I said, "How did I get you back?" He goes, "When you jackknifed, your foot came around so fast and so hard, you hit me in the dick so hard that my dick was on fire." And that's what everybody did. Really. But,
all right, I got one more of these, and then I'm gonna go play some.
You know, when my spine guy, who first guy to make, when I pulled my back out, broke my back, he's like, "You're done." 3 months later, because of what would become DDP Live, I went back to him. He's like, "I've never seen this recovery ever. What did you do?" And I told him, I showed him, and he goes, "Don't stop doing that. You know, keep doing whatever the fuck you're doing." Well, now I go back to the neck.
Thanks again,
He's like, "Let me show you something." And he shows me how bad my neck is. And he said,
Keep up, you're straight out of luck.
Hello.
Let's get the job done.
Yeah, we talked about the woman who hid the gun and accidentally shot herself at the baseball game.
They all lead to the same place.
Oh, allegedly. I guess they haven't 100% confirmed that she hid a gun in her gut.
Introducing your champion. I'm quick, and I'll finish this.
Hey, Ezekiel. Hey, Wendigoon. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Welcome aboard, Stephanie.
Let's go here. Here we go.
Hear about Jimmy Buffett? I did. Thanks, Bree.
Feeling someone's watching this.
Yeah, the EDP stuff is brand new. Just happened.
Giving him the chimney.
I'm getting a link for it. Jackson sent it to me before I saw it.
Wouldn't let down range. Reloading. It got me. I'm down.
I got the EDP link.
Opening fire. Enemy shield broken. Another squad's attacking. Focus.
Welcome aboard, Snake Eye. What did EDP do this time?
Did the first guy leave us? What the
Robert,
fuck?
what do you think? Like, yep. Be real. Here, we'll start there. We'll start with the EDP stuff.
Enemy down. 1 minute rings not far.
Good. Thanks, Jordan.
Thermite grenade out.
So they haven't released the footage yet, but Gideon is alluding to catching EDP in another sting, and he showed up in the cupcake costume, obviously. So it's looking like EDP is still preying on children, or at least attempting to. So this just happened, what, 6 hours ago or something like that?
I know you'll forgive me.
Need to recharge my shield.
I can't wait for this video. Maybe this will finally be enough evidence, assuming that it really is him going here under the assumption that he's meeting a minor. Hopefully that'll finally be enough evidence for the authorities to take it seriously.
Broke one shield.
Trying to become a member but cannot find it. It's a button that says join somewhere. I don't know where, to be honest with you. It's fake. There is a good chance that it is. When Jackson initially sent it to me, I said that it's probably all just a big meme. But from what everyone's posting on Twitter, it's seeming like it's not. And that Gideon really did catch him again. So there's a video. I think it's an article somewhere down here. This?
I'm not talking to you. You're talking to me.
Yeah, so that would be a weird meme. That seems pretty real. There's not a lot of people that would willingly do that. Especially given his history. Welcome aboard, Rosen. Appreciate it, Jordan. And yeah, I saw. And no, I don't know what that is, strategist. Welcome aboard, sister. Yeah, the full video hasn't dropped or anything. He's got that snippet. But it definitely doesn't seem staged. You'd have to be a real fucking idiot to agree to once again be portrayed as a pedophile. I'm using portrayed super lightly because the guy is a pedophile. Like, the evidence is overwhelming. So I don't think it's a joke.
We've got a job to do. So
Holy
shift
shit.
your focus.
Oh my god. That was super sweet. Appreciate that. I XRC. Thanks for the long time of watching. God damn. What a fucking fat drop. Thank you for that. And I hope you're doing well.
Just want to give a shout out to all my fans watching. Hola!
Just got out of Gideon's stream. There's already a court date, and he's on an FBI watch list for other reasons, gun related. Wait, what? Happy birthday, Slow. He did say it on a live stream. Looking forward to us.
Surprise, surprise.
Apparently Punk tried to run up on Tony after squaring up with Jack Perry, so TK had to get rid of him. Yeah, we can talk about the Punk stuff in just a little bit. I kept up with...
We'll craft his banner. We'll craft his banner.
You know it just us. We got to watch each other's back.
Yeah, I saw. Jesus.
Right here may be good for looting. Here I go.
Welcome aboard, Caleb and Jose.
1 minute. Rings nearby.
No, not too much Jason just started. Do you think EDP could ever be rehabilitated? This is like his fucking 4th time. No, and he's a predator. He can't be saved. Like, people forget, the cupcake incident wasn't his first time doing that either. It was just his first time getting caught with enough evidence that everyone saw it. And he did it again, like, a year ago? Probably not even a year ago. Now this... Lord Chad. I like sports. Basketball is my favorite one. True, Salmon. That was wholesome. Thanks, James. Yeah, we're going to talk about Vince Vintage and all of that as well. Like I said, there is a lot that's gone on over the last 24 hours.
Our dude left us.
Welcome aboard, Zach.
Let's just evac tower out of here, buddy.
Appreciate it, Zeph. What's your basketball team?
Someone's coming, let's go.
We haven't formed the team yet, because it's not time. Welcome aboard, Keith.
I asked you to go. Come to here.
The video's not out yet. We don't know exactly everything that went on here, but from the clip that's posted and what he's wearing and EDP's reaction...
What an annoying dude. Are you kidding me? You stayed there to die. I told you to get out of there. I literally said that.
For EDP, it seems like another case of
I'll
preying
fucking
on my
try and
ass.
craft you somewhere now.
Welcome aboard, Lincoln.
Now I gotta go. I just saw a team, so now I gotta go into a team to try and recover you. Instead of you just fucking listening, coming with me.
He said the video's gonna come out sometime this
Oh, you
month.
left like a bitch?
Well,
Okay.
I'll be waiting. That's the EDP update. Welcome aboard, Ark. Steeple. Appreciate it, music. Hi, Rocky. Heard about the Mr. Beast stuff? I saw all of it unfold in real time last night. Yeah. There were two different Mr. Beast things. That was a rough evening for Mr. Beast on Twitter last night. Shit was getting crazy.
Isn't my birthday already?
How is this man not in jail? Because the investigations were conducted by YouTubers, not working in collaboration with law enforcement, so they don't take them seriously and they get off on technicality. Or, sorry, they don't. It's not like he got off on technicality, they just didn't pursue it because the investigation was done by a less than professional team. Which is why Detective Predator always worked with law enforcement. Thanks for the gifted member, Mikey, and welcome Madison, Snow, and Panda. What happened with Mr. Beast? It was a bit of bad blood between Jacksepticeye and Mr. Beast. As part of a lie detector video, Sean was asked if he liked Mr. Beast, and he said no. He said, like, do you think Mr. Beast was on YouTube? And he said yes, and then it became a big debate on Twitter for a while, and a lot of shit swinging back and forth on it.
Beauty before whatever you are.
Thoughts on the John Wick spin-off series, The Continental? I'm not super optimistic. I'm a little worried they might be diluting it too much and running it into the ground, but nothing they've shown looks bad from The Continental. I'm just a little worried. I'm bored, Darth. Why didn't he like Mr. Beast? He said he believed that Mr. Beast content changed the focus on YouTube from making things that are fun to making things that are like designed to make money and nothing else. So basically like the corporatization of it, fundamentally. Instead of just making things you like, you make things that are algorithmically popular. Which is a fine point to make. Like, Mr. Beast is the most influential YouTuber when it comes to content. Everyone tries to emulate him because he's the biggest YouTuber. But that mentality has existed for as long as YouTube has, like, in terms of making money. Like, once Ray William Johnson proved the concept, everyone has done similar things. For example, Let's Plays. Like, Let's Plays are the perfect example of that. A lot of Let's Play channels started because it was very easy. Low lift. You can crank out 2-3 Let's Plays per day on a popular game, so it's big in the algorithm, everyone sees it, and it's just an easy way of making money. And that was a lot of Let's Players' drive in the beginning. Not all of them, but it certainly was a huge motivating factor for why Let's Plays blew up so much. So while Mr. Beast did become the biggest, it's not like he invented the concept of making content that was solely focused on money. That's not unique to him or his influence. Welcome aboard, him. Thanks for the 20, Will. But what he's absolutely right about is that Mr. Beast content did truly change the way a lot of people approach to being a YouTuber. That much is absolutely certain. Hey, well, thanks, Jason. No, I haven't, Will. Kind of unfair to pin the shift solely on Jimmy. I don't think that's what his intention was. You have to keep in mind the context of where he said it. It was in a Funsies video with a lie detector. Lie detector videos aren't real. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you Santa's fake, but polygraphs aren't real. It's like everyone forgot that. Like, they're just supposed to be a for fun thing, so I don't think he was trying to make a big drama statement out of it. I don't think that was Sean's intention. I don't think he was trying to pin the blame solely on Mr. Beast or anything like that. Or Chris. Welcome aboard, Gunman. Real enough for the bed, though. It's not usable. Like, I don't think you're allowed to use polygraphs. Isn't that one of the big things? But we looked that up on stream, actually. The answer is yes, you can't use them. But regardless, you guys might remember this. This was actually a big internet controversy for a minute. You guys remember this guy? He was in every single lie detector video. He was the lie detector guy. Well, Scott Kramer made a great video on this subject, Polygraphs are not real. It's inadmissible evidence. You can't use a fucking polygraph for the truth because it's not reliable. The thing with lie detectors on YouTube is the person who administers it usually just gives a thumbs up or thumbs down for the most entertaining answer. So it's not real, it's just supposed to be fun. That's it. So I don't think Sean was looking to stir a controversy. He was just answering the questions in a fun way, and he gave an honest answer to that one. I don't think that was the purpose. Thanks for the resub, Doofin. Welcome aboard. And welcome, Gummy and Black. Thanks for the tin, Shane. And yeah, we'll talk about Vince Vin. We'll talk about Vince Vin. Lie detector test. Yep. There's actually quite a few ways why they're not super reliable. I highly recommend watching Scott Training's video on that. It's very interesting. Welcome aboard, Jake. I'm not sure yet, Uber. I still haven't looked into it. Oh, that's fair, Scar. You fucked up. Oh, yeah, I'm excited for you this weekend. It'll be a lot of fun. I don't know how many tickets are left, but if you have any left, here, I'll drop the link. September 8th through the 10th. First live event. Actually, not here, I'll just pin it. It'll be easier than spamming it. Welcome aboard, Throbbing. Do you have any big events or big plans coming up? Yeah, doing a live event on the 5th, so Friday. It's a big meet and greet, big party, filming a music video with the audience, and then cheering for our Apex team as they hopefully win the World Championship. Thanks, Abby. The DoD doesn't use polygraphs, but shadier prosecutors have brought in polygraph techs as expert witnesses. Yeah, that's some shady shit. Thanks, Nate. That's awesome, Shane. I'm glad to hear it. Welcome aboard, Kat. I'll voice meter Starfield when I'm done with it. Happy birthday, Weird. Good luck on your Kickstarter goal. Thanks, Cooper. The GTA 6 release date leaked. Not confirmed, just a rumor. What's up with Vince Vintage? And then the other thing with Mr. Beast was the Creator League. That was the other thing on Twitter. It was a rough 24 hours for Mr. Beast on Twitter, unfortunately. He was having a tough time. The Creator League, though, is some weird shit. Yeah, I'll have to check that out, Adonis. I've never even heard of that. Welcome aboard, Vocal. You see, the Pentagon launched a website for declassified info on UFOs. Yeah, my dad's been talking to me about it for the last day and a half. Awaiting instructions. He's having a hard time accessing it. Sweet, well, thanks, Harrison. Hello, David. Your dad's still on the alien grind? Oh, my dad loves it. Yeah, my dad is always keeping up to date with anything extraterrestrial related. Like, you might remember 2 nights ago on stream, he texted me out of the blue mentioning Tom DeLonge, because he finally found the Tom DeLonge rabbit hole. He's in it. He loves it. His theory is the reason they're declassifying all of the UFO shit is because the government's trying to warm people up to the truth that aliens have visited us many times in the past. They don't want to cause a panic. So I countered that with my theory. That I think the reason they're declassifying so many UFO documents and footage is because they're trying to justify a higher spending budget on a new sector instead of just dumping everything in the military. They can justify it with extraterrestrial defense and research or something. So it's just kind of a distraction. Oppenheimer was amazing. Yeah, that movie was fucking incredible. No, I can't say that, Shelby. I'm sure Colin doesn't post cringe. Boo, that's boring. Hey, man. Sometimes the truth isn't all, you know, unicorns and rainbows. Sometimes it's just shady spending. And I'm really sorry to hear that, Daniel. Wishing you and your family the best. My favorite horror movie's Hereditary. Welcome aboard, Jeebus.
Awaiting instructions.
I'll try. I'll let Joyo know. Never even heard of Colonel Baker cheddar snacks. Repeat. Yeah, Tiana watches pretty much nothing but K-dramas, so I get it. K-dramas are huge now.
Awaiting instructions.
You hear about the Smash Mouth lead singer? Yeah, I've got it pulled up here. We'll get to it in a minute. And I've also got the Ludwig Best Gamer Ever competition going on, the world's greatest. Rizzo went deep. It was great. Welcome aboard, C. Thanks, Golden. Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of you saw this earlier today, but this is a fucking awful situation. His name's Vince Vintage, and today he released a video going over... Am I blocking that? No. Today he released a video going over a really unfortunate situation where someone's abusing some internal YouTube systems in order to stalk and ruin his career. So this was his plea to try and get some eyes on it, because YouTube has been ignoring it. I don't know how they can continue to ignore it with all of the overwhelming evidence Vince has here, but I'm sure they won't be able to ignore it for much longer with all of the traction this got, especially with all the people sending it to, like, YouTube themselves. Like, I send it to my YouTube guy to hopefully forward it up the chain, because it should only take a human being 2 minutes to realize that this whole situation is complete baloney. And what's happening to Vince is legitimately illegal. So I'm assuming Tuesday we'll finally have a word from YouTube on it, because it's Labor Day weekend. Tomorrow's Labor Day. So I'm assuming when they get back to the office on Tuesday, they'll hopefully rule everything in Vince's favor. I'm definitely not doing that, Jackie. Yeah, there's a lot to do in Tampa, Julian. Just depends on what you like. Tampa has like a little of everything. Wishing you the best with its C movie. And yeah, I've watched Helluva Boss. I think it's good. Do I like any of the Dragon Ball Z movies? Yeah. Dragon Ball Super Broly is an incredible movie. And if you're talking OG Dragon Ball Z movies, the first Cooler movie, there's two, right? Yeah, there's Cooler's Revenge, right? The first Cooler movie, which has Deftones and everything in it, is a banger. The movie with Janinba, that I forgot the name of. And then, Android 13, I think is the movie. The blue android guy. I think that's 13. Is great. Welcome aboard, Mystic. Yeah, we were just talking about EDP. have not seen the trailer for Rock, Paper, Scissors. Yep, I did see the gender reveal plane crash. Hey, well, sleep well, Rigby, and thanks for the generosity. Hope you have a great night. That's awful to hear, Pearl. I don't know. I guess just report it to authorities. That's fucking terrible. Have you seen Talk to Me? Yeah, I made a whole movie about Talk to Me. I think Raka Raka did an amazing job on Talk to Me. It's a really good movie. Starfield or Armored Core 6? Armored Core 6 for me. I said this during the last stream. Starfield is a good game. Like, there's nothing bad about it, but there's nothing new about it either. It's just a very standard Bethesda experience. And for a lot of people, that's exactly what they want. Just a Bethesda game in space. And it does have some cool mechanics like the shipbuilding and a lot of other, like, good mechanics, but nothing's actually amazing. Like, the exploration they hyped up is fucking awful. Non-existent. Every planet is just completely empty if you wander outside of the main cities and main zones. So all of the exploration is completely a lie. A blatant fucking lie. And then everything else is very standard Bethesda. Another thing that I'm never going to be able to unsee is none of the characters have facial animations. So the story and all the interactions with the characters feel pretty stiff because they don't actually emote at all, which is weird. But aside from that, everything's functional, everything's fine. Like, there's nothing bad. It's just very standard Bethesda game. So it just depends on your stance and taste. If you like normal Bethesda, then you'll like it. I really appreciate the 50 Mad Dog, and I haven't heard about Guy Dorman. Sounds fucking terrible, though. Welcome aboard, Smoke. Welcome aboard, Jess. Not much, David. Just going over some of the stories. There's still quite a few more. Yeah, I didn't watch all of it though, King, but I saw, like, the gist of it. And thanks, Foxy. I'm excited to see what the modders will do for Starfield. Oh, they're already hard at work. They've already got they already have DLSS in it, right? Nexus Mods already has some Starfield DLSS. I keep stuttering on that. Yeah. So the modders are already in there working hard. Welcome aboard, David. You see the new EDP thing? Yeah, man, it's literally still right here. We just got finished talking about it. I know he did a pube shaving tutorial. Yeah, I know. The guy who narrated his butthole just made a pube shaving tutorial. Full dick. You see Gideon saying Logan Paul faked the Japan blog. Yeah, it's a legitimately huge theory right now that Logan Paul faked the Japanese suicide forest video. I still haven't seen the expose on it yet, so I don't know all the evidence. It's from a channel called, like, Dark YouTube, I believe. I'm not sure, but the theory's blowing up right now. I'll have to check out the evidence, but on the surface, it seems like the dumbest fucking idea to fake that. Because you'd have to know that's a usually career-ending moment. filming and making fun of someone's suicide. So I don't know why he'd film that. That doesn't sound... Or, sorry, why he'd fake that. That doesn't sound plausible. Welcome aboard, Adriana. Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome. How do I
Of course,
get
I'll
out
be
of
streaming
this?
Spider-Man 2 when it comes out. I'm looking forward to it.
Fuck, how do I get out of this?
What was your experience with Big John Studd? I've heard in several interviews that he was not liked by Andre the Giant.
We called him Big John Dud.
Any reason? Is he dull?
Yeah. He was thick. You know, I love the guy. Don't get me wrong. I love the guy. I had no problems with him. You know, he made a big mistake whenever he said what he did about Andre being a freak. He did an interview where he said Andre wasn't a giant, he was a freak.
Oh boy.
And Andre took offense to that, and that was it. The shit hit the fan. And every time Andre got around him, he just beat the fucking shit out of him. It was horrible, man. Hell, when we did that damn match in Atlantic City, you know, and he was the referee. Goddamn, I hope I didn't get hurt. Because Andre hit him so hard his body exploded, one of his body parts hit me or something. You know, Jake Roberts killed by a kidney. You know,
What a headline.
they come flying off of John Studd. Yeah, it's not good to be on Andre's good side. I mean, Iron Sheik experienced that. Randy Savage experienced that. Randy was scared to death of Andre, and rightly so. Jesus Christ, man. You know, I had an experience with Andre. It wasn't good. We had just done the thing where he was scared of the snake, and our first match was in LA. And we got in the ring, and he absolutely guzzled me. He hammered me, he guzzled me, didn't give me a fucking thing, man. 15 minutes of me getting my ass kicked. Well, it was so bad that when I got to the back, the agents were standing there going, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, looking at me, and I'm fucking mad as shit, going, fuck this shit. I'm not playing this fucking shit. I'm not doing it. So I said, where the fuck is he? And they said, he's just in his dressing room. You're not going in there, are you? Fucking right I am. So I fucking went in there, and I was so angry. I said, Andre, what have I done to you? My God, I'm hoping that we can actually draw some money with this thing we're doing. And you set it up perfectly, and then we go out and you do that. You just ate me from head to toe, chewed me up, spit me out. The fucking people are feeling sorry for me just for being in the ring with you. I said, we can't do that. I'm not going to do that. That's the way it's going to be. Fuck it. I'm not doing it. And he looked at me and just said, okay, boss, we're good.
Wow.
It was a test. He was testing me to see if I'd fucking stand up for myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be intimidating.
You have no idea, man. I'm going to throw a punch and he'd catch my punch in his fist like a baseball bat. You know? It fucking hurt too, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you know, you were pretty well established by this point in your career, but just for full context, like, Andre is already a legend at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So like, coming to him, bursting into his dressing room, kind of being confrontational with him,
Yeah,
real
man.
balls, man.
Well, I figured I could outrun him.
You definitely had that advantage.
Yeah. And I'd already made up my mind that if we were going to continue like that, I wasn't fucking doing it. I'll just get out of the fucking ring and walk away. Because we're not giving them a show, we're giving them shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my whole thing, that hey, Those people weren't fucking entertained. They're disgusting.
Yeah. Now, do you think that if John Studd had confronted Andre about his behavior, it would have changed anything?
Sure. I think you went to him man to man. You know, it said, been straight up. Hey, I said something really fucking stupid, Andre, and I'm really sorry. But he didn't.
You know, it makes you wonder about all the people that he had issues with. Like, maybe he just wanted people to prove, like, hey, look, I'm going to treat you like I'd treat anybody else.
You had to earn his respect. If you earned his respect, you were okay.
I'll be back. I'm gonna go back to the smart shop. Goodbye. I'll be quick. Okay. Okay. Oh, you too. What do you guys like talk about with your chats, or do you just play games?
I just play games. When I stop playing
Yeah, I
games,
talk to my chat.
my low attention span takes over and I go mad.
Oh.
Oh.
So, and not everyone else. Marie, can we be friends? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Really? Shoot. Who is she talking to? I don't know.
I'm bringing Leslie because she's a social butterfly, and I realized I just left the room full of like very very gamers, and so I'm bringing Leslie to save today.
Okay. Everything's fine.
And no, I literally could hear you guys from the bathroom. I was like, oh my god, I'm stressing them out. I left to go change, and I'm in there changing, and like Psycho knows he did the thing where it was like so, and I started having a panic attack. I was like, they're doing the thing. I want to talk about the Jonah Hill and Sarah Brady incident. And in addition to pointing out how and why Jonah Hill's behavior was wrong, I want to also discuss how Sarah's people-pleasing tendencies are a teachable moment for all of us. Now, in case you're not...
Nah, Anna, I'm not doing it. I'm going to take this off the list right now. Off the list. I can't do it, Anna. I'm sorry, Anna. Can't do it, Anna. How can this be so bad? How can I have such a bad fucking recommendation?
Are you in a bad mood? Are you okay? Did you have a bad morning? What's going on? What's wrong? Why is the streamer acting like when they're straight on? What's going on?
Did I get tweeted at last night? Like someone adding me and they're like, man, I wonder what's going on in Faze and Suda's relationship. They seem like they're struggling. That is like saying fuck you to her and she's being super mean to him. I really wait, what's going on? Dude, are you fucking retirement?
Yeah. yeah. I mean, that is one of those things where I do and just see, like, so what's your day look like? I'm just, out of my curiosity, I just want to know, like, what concoction of life creates you? Curious.
Brock is our version of Harley Race today. But the difference is Brock wouldn't bite your nose off. I don't think he has it in him. And Brock wouldn't pull your eye out. Pull your eye out? Yeah. This guy, Harley, many times. Simple. Boom.
Ah, he pulled guys' eyes out?
Yeah. I've seen it twice.
What, they got blinded, you mean?
Well, they lost their eye. Hanging by a string. I don't know what happened to it. This is back in the 70s.
Jesus Christ.
You know,
Literally pulled their fucking eye out?
Huh?
You know how cool it is, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's
Cool.
that's a scary guy.
Cool people could bark in their nose off in Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah, like off.
We've had some really tough guys in the business.
So let's go, before we get to the nose, let's go back to the eyes. So you've seen more than one guy get his eyeball pulled out of his head?
I've never seen it fall on the ground.
Leave something hanging out of his head?
Oh yeah, 3 times.
Holy fuck. You ever see those guys again?
No, they were wrestlers. They were fans in the bar starting a fight.
Oh.
These were wrestlers. These were guys that thought they were tough. Harley used to go like this. He'd go, I mean, have to do the smoking thing, and we'd walk into a bar like in Fort Worth. This is his favorite. I said, Harley, look around the bunch here, man. Most girls in college, he said, this not a drink. Come on. You go with her. So, you know, popular pool could be in those Western bars, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's guys with 10 quarters. Quarter next guy, right? Have to play, right? They're all standing there, 20 people around. Take the cue off the wall, chalk it up, knock all the quarters off. Oh, shit. Next. Anybody got a problem? I mean, just picking it. He loved being the world champion.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, he was a different experience, man. You would have loved him, Joey. He can tell you this stuff. Oh, there he is right there. And there's the Haku, brother.
Yeah.
We call him the human Vegematic.
Yeah. That's considered by many to be the scariest guy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on a short leash now. He's not allowed. His wife doesn't let him out of the house. Look at him.
His wife doesn't let him out of the house?
Well, I mean, he had so many lawsuits. He's bad, man. So, I'll tell you, we're in Charleston, South Carolina. And a bar calls in the late 80s, early 90s. And so I grew to get Jack, right? They go to that, says, go dance. He's dancing, right? You just touch on the guy. So the guy comes back and cuts in. I goes, why would he do that? So you know, fuck. You know, I go back or tap at the guy. Get to the girl again, right? So he just closed his hands. They call the jukebox. So this manager goes, last call on them. Oh, it's last call. So I ordered lunch for last call. And which is a big theory, you've seen it, right? This guy, just normal sized guy, maybe 5'9", maybe 160 pounds. He goes up to Haku, he's like poking him in the chest. Hey, you, I told you, out. We call it the goozles. He put the guy to sleep.
You grab him by the neck?
Hit him with the thing in the artery here.
Mm-hmm.
He gets just dropped to the ground. Here come the cops. Oh, you don't want to get him drunk.
Yeah. I don't know if that guy can smell what the Rock is cooking though.
Yeah.
That'd be so stupid.
No, there were some really tough guys. No, but Haku is he's the kindest, sweetest guy in the world. But
yeah, must have said this a long time.
Well, but it's the Jack Daniels.
And also back then, not only are these guys coming in hot after doing a sold out arena, an extreme high.
And then why do guys want to give a guy? You look at him. Who wants to get into shit?
Right.
Why would anybody?
It's some dumb motherfuckers.
Yeah, exactly. And they're drunk. And if they say anything, even if what you do isn't even real, back then,
That was the guy.
back then, before they admitted that it was entertainment, like back then, I mean, a whole different era.
All the girls and guys. They all got pissed off. They start running their mouths and then they get their ass kicked. And, but back then, it's not like Now you can't do anything. The cops aren't even came on stuff like that. They just threw the guy out, you know.
Right. If there were cell phone videos back then, there would be thousands and thousands and thousands of cell phone videos of them beating people's asses all around the world.
How often did you guys get into bar fights?
Oh, on a 7-day week, probably twice a week. not me. I don't know, but I've seen bar fights. Right. Yeah, at least. It depends on what town we're in, but if we're an overnight town, a big. It's funny. It's usually the smaller towns with the local guy was the tough guy.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, the small town, and then we come, and all the girls are in the small town, and of course the local tough guy, and of course he gets his ass whipped.
Yeah,
murdered.
Yeah.
What a fucking
From guys that are in 7-day-a-week, 1-hour match shape, working out for 2 hours every day.
No, but with Harley with that left hand. What did you say about wrestling?
Enemy flag returned.
You, I'm talking to you. Good favorite thing. You guys are doing the favorite thing. That was great. Broken jaw, broken nose. I mean, and that was after followed by 2 headbutts. Unbelievable. Different time now.
Twice a week, you would see shit like that.
On a 7-day week? Oh yeah. Sure.
There's something about it. There's something about it.
Texas, but the Cowboys down here think they're half tough, you know. Or that in the old days did.
Yeah.
The real Cowboys, yeah.
I'm sure. Well, they probably were tough.
Yeah, sure. But I meant, you know, rodeo riders and all that. Yeah. Now, I'm taking nothing away from them.
Right.
They just weren't how they raised tough.
There's something.
Or Jack Mulligan tough. Or Hot Kula. Right. Some of the guys were just dynamite.
Yeah. There's something so romantic about that. I was just traveling around, getting hammered every night, dating the fucking people in bars, going back to the Venus. I mean, that would make an amazing fucking movie. Yeah, the insanity of that life. Again, it's like you live something that's just not going to ever be available to young guys again. It's that you can't live that way.
No, and it's probably better. It's absolutely better.
Yeah, probably.
It probably is much easier, but it's a much more controlled environment.
Yeah, but to us to hear these stories, it's like I'm so glad you lived that life.
Yeah, we're the last.
No, what?
Hello everyone, this is your David Memorial.
So I took him into the shower room and he shook my hand. He said, "Everything okay?" And I said, "Well, if you're going to hit me like that every night," I said, "I'm going to have to either give you some receipts or you're going to have to start loosening up because you're not going to have an opponent to work with because I'm not going to make it."
You know, history shows that you and Sheik had such a great run, and then you turned, as we used to say in the magazines, you became a rule breaker again, and you hooked up with Freddie Blassie and the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, and my goodness, I remember the letters we used to get at the wrestling magazines of people who wanted to kill you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I first went to G.I. Joe. But, shortly after the Sheik and I kind of run our course, G.I. Joe, Hasbro Toys contacted me right before WrestleMania. And of course, Vince and I went round and around because I said, "Can't we do both? Can I be G.I. Joe and can we do wrestling?" He said, "I would love it. I would love it, but I just signed a contract with LJN, and that would be a conflict of interest." So we had to go round and round. And finally, I didn't know what to do because I wanted to stay at the WWE, and I wanted to go to Hasbro and be the first living G.I. Joe. So I was sitting at the table one night with my family, and my wife said, "What is wrong with you? You haven't been acting right." And I said, "Well, I've got this problem." "What's your problem?" I said, "Well, Vince McMahon wants me to stay and wrestle and continue to help build up WrestleMania #1 and Hasbro wants me to come there, and she said, well, that's a pretty easy solution. And I said, it is? And she said, yeah. She said, Bob, you can always be a wrestler. You can't always be the first living G.I. Joe. I said, that's why you get the big bucks on it. And so I called Vince the next day, and off I went. And, you know, a lot of bad things happened, you know, between me leaving, going to G.I. Joe, that I got so turned off with the WWE that I didn't even watch it.
I know that was the period of time. That was the period of time you came up to our office a few times and was telling us back at the magazine what was going on.
Right. So I didn't watch it. So I'm finished up with Hasbro. Pretty much, I only had like 3 or 4 months left on my contract. And I'm at a hotel in Cleveland, Ohio, and WrestleMania 6 is advertised to buy the pay-per-view in the room. So I called up the front desk, how do I get the pay-per-view? I said, it's time for me to maybe watch it again. So I hook it up and I watch it. And Bill, I was just amazed at the production that I was watching. Look, when I left the WWE to go to G.I. Joe, they probably had 3 or 4 cameras. That's all they had, 3, 4, 5 cameras. They must have had 25 cameras on this pay-per-view. It looked like 1 million people were at the Toronto, you know, dome there, and I just could not believe it. I watched the match with the Ultimate Puke and the Immortal Slime, Hulk Hogan. So I got a piece of paper out of the desk of the hotel in the room there, and I got a pen, and I put "Dear Vince," and I said, I've just watched WrestleMania 6, and I have to salute you and take my hat off to you because it's one of the best productions I've ever seen in any television. You know, Hollywood should take some lessons from you. And I signed it Sergeant Slaughter. And then I put P.S. the match with Hogan and Warrior, and I put 2 big letters, P.U. Because it was a stinker-rooney. And so shortly after that, about 2 weeks after that, I'm sitting at home watching a NASCAR race on a Sunday, kind of drifting off in between the race, and my phone rings. I'm the only one home. I answer the phone. Hello? Sarge? Yes. Vince? Well, it's only Vince. Of course, there's only one Sarge. Right. I got your note. I really appreciate your feedback on the production. Kevin Dunn and I have worked endlessly hard to make our production the best that there is. And I said, well, you've done that. I said, no. And I went through the whole thing. I hadn't watched your show in 6 years, and blah, blah, blah. So he said, I see your contract with Hasbro is over with shortly. And I said, well, funny, you should know that. And he goes, I need to know those things. That's why I know it. And he said, are you ready to go back to work? I said, yeah, I'm ready to go back to work. So I tell my wife at dinner that night and my 2 daughters, guess where I'm going tomorrow? Where are you going? I'm going to Vince McMahon's house. We all lived in Connecticut. And they said, oh, good. I bet he's going to make you the real American hero like only he can do, my wife said. And I said, yeah, I think that's what he's going to do.
Anyone gonna help me?
To Vince's house. Wasn't like we even missed a step.
You just let them return the flag,
I
huh?
get to his house, he's out there giving me hugs and hands me a water, and we walk in, we talk a little while, and he takes me into this little kind of a library, and he's got the prototype of the Coliseum in LA. And he's got big screens all over this Coliseum, and he said, this is WrestleMania 7. It's going to hold 104,000 people, and I want to break the Detroit record. He said, and I want you and Hulk Hogan to do it. And I said, oh, really? I said, well, how are you going to turn Hulk Hogan into the villain? He goes, Hulk? No. I want to turn you into the villain. And I said, oh, how are we going to do that? And he said, I said, I actually came here thinking that I was going to be the real American hero. And he goes, no. here's my idea. He started laying out this Iraqi sympathizer. You're back from the wars and wherever you've been, and you're disappointed in the military and the United States military because they're weak. They're letting things get by in the country and around the world, and they're allowing Saddam Hussein to take over Kuwait. And he just laid this whole thing out. He said, yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. He said, you want to do it? I said, well, yeah. He said, well, it could be a little bit tough, so why don't you go home and talk to your wife and family about it?
Dangerous, yeah.
Right. So then I said, okay. But I knew I wanted to do it because I've always loved being that villain, you know. And this sounded like a pretty
Get it moving.
rough villain. And little did I know, my
You guys, why do you suck so much?
Of course, the real American hero story. And I told her the complete reverse, and she said, an Iraqi sympathizer? You're going to get killed. You can't do that. You just came off of G.I. Joe. You're the real American hero. I said, well, that's what Vince wants. She said, well, Bob, you've always controlled your character and made this decision, so if that's what you want to do, you go ahead, but don't tell me that I didn't tell you so. I said, okay, so I called Vince up. I said, we're all ready to go. He said, okay, let's do it. We're going to do it nice and slow. You're going to do some vignettes where they don't really know what's wrong with you, but you're not being the friendly guy that you were when you left. And so we were doing this really nice, smooth and slow. And I get a call from Vince. Another Sunday, a call, but it was a little later, about 1 o'clock in the morning. He goes, Sarge? Yes, Vince. Oh, hey, Vince. A little change of plan. What's the change? He said, well, the Ultimate Warrior broke Macho Man's wrist last night, so I'm going to have to put you in his spot. And I'll put you with the Sensational Sherry, and you just take care of all the matches that they have left, and we'll go from there. I said, oh, okay, no problem. But I never, had met the Warrior, and, I didn't know anything about him. And the first night I wrestled him, I mean, it was like going to war. And he was as stiff as you were. And so I finally had to